the zombie emperor in American comics. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story and all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 176 Clarice Ferguson. Ever since receiving their modified brainwave amplifiers, the women have been busy, especially Emma, whose enthusiasm is incredibly high. Even Selena has been drawn in to help her find, investigate, and recruit worthy mutants. While Wang Yunxiao is happy to continue his leisurely life, he's annoyed by the women's neglect. Having so many stunning beauties at home, only to be able to gaze at them, unable to reach them, is a bittersweet experience. Their tireless efforts have undoubtedly yielded fruitful results. In less than a year, they've recruited over 100 mutants from around the world. Some are orphans abandoned by their parents, others are street thugs, and even homeless people. In short, they represent the very bottom of society. This was a decision the women had made after consultation, to avoid attracting attention. However, despite their humble origins and limited abilities, they possess at least beta-level potential, and many possess exceptional abilities. It's believed that if they are nurtured, they will become a formidable force. Currently, they are concentrated in West Virginia, known as the Mountain State, in the southern United States. Its vast, sparsely populated, mountainous terrain makes it ideal for their secret training. To this end, Emma has even spent years at the secret training base there, teaching and training these mutants alongside dozens of Umbrella Corps special forces. Despite the long periods of separation from Wang Yunxiao, she deeply enjoys the experience of being a role model. She's long cherished the dream of establishing a school and serving as its principal, and now, at last, her wish has finally come true. However, every once in a while, Em returns to New York to spend a few days with Wang Yunxiao to ease her homesickness. During these times, she doesn't have to worry about the secret training base, as Selena or Rain are always there. Well, to fully train the mutants in all their abilities, Selena and Lane would take turns training them in combat, firearms, reconnaissance, and infiltration. They'd also be able to keep Emma company, preventing her from being alone and feeling too lonely. One of them was a vampire death walker, and the other was an Umbrella Corporation Special Forces operative. Instructing the mutants in these areas was naturally easy for them. Furthermore, they were now both responsible for Umbrella security, allowing them to take care of both sides. In fact, if Ada Wong weren't the president of Umbrella and couldn't leave New York for extended periods without notice, she'd be a perfect fit for the mutants, even more suited to reconnaissance and infiltration than the other two. After all, she was once the renowned king of agents. Furthermore, Selene would periodically visit the mutants for a few days to conduct psychological counseling to ensure their loyalty. While she also had to oversee the Hellfire Club, she wasn't as tied down as Ada Wong. Wang Yunxiao knew that as the power expanded, this situation would inevitably become more frequent, but he still felt deeply uneasy. He even began to wonder if his newfound special abilities were related to long-distance teleportation. Unfortunately, there was no news from the Cosmic Cube, and he had no recourse but to continue waiting in silence. Finally, Emma's return date arrived. After nearly 6 months, Wang Yunxiao truly missed her. Early in the morning, he had been anticipating Emma's return. However, Emma wasn't returning alone this time. She had brought a stunningly beautiful Chinese woman with her. Gazing at her familiar face, Wang Yunxiao had a theory. Clarice Ferguson, like Wang Yunxiao, possessed special abilities. She could warp space to create portals, transporting multiple people to designated locations. She could also teleport over vast distances, such as between the moon and Earth. She could even channel her own energy into a small javelin, hurl it at a target, and teleport them away instantly. Clarice's special abilities appear rather limited, but when it comes to special abilities, no one is weak. Undoubtedly, her potential is definitely alpha level, but unfortunately, she died early in the original novel, never fully realizing her potential. While Wang Yunxiao didn't know why Emma brought Clarice back, he firmly believed that with his training, her future achievements would far surpass those of the original novel. Brother Yunxiao, her name is Clarice Ferguson. She's one of the best students at the training base, And like you, she possesses special abilities. Sure enough, Emma introduced her cheerfully, confirming Wang Yunxiao's suspicions. "Hello. Welcome, Miss Ferguson," Wang Yunxiao said, smiling and nodding. "Hello." Clarice seemed a little nervous. "Don't be nervous. Brother Yunxiao is very easy to talk to and gentle," Emma said, patting Clarice on the shoulder, acting like a powerful leader. Yes, Clarice lowered her head slightly, but when the two weren't paying attention, she'd occasionally glance at Wang Yunxiao, clearly curious about him. Of course, they weren't unaware, but they feigned ignorance to avoid further agitation. "Brother Yunxiao, I brought Clarice back this time so you can teach her well. After all, as fellow dimensional beings, you're the most suitable person to teach her." Emma then got straight to business, the very reason she brought Clarice back. "No problem, leave her to me," Wang Yunxiao readily agreed. He loved mentoring beautiful women. And, as a fellow Chinese, he felt a natural affinity. Besides, Clarice's dimensional ability allows for long-distance teleportation, so you can come visit us anytime, Emma said proudly. Well, that was her true purpose, and it was surprising she'd come up with such a plan. "You?" Wang Yunxiao chuckled, but admittedly, it was a brilliant idea. "Strange, why did you agree so readily? Could it be that you're attracted by Clarice's beauty and have evil intentions towards her?" But then Emma began to suspect Wang Yunxiao of having ulterior motives. It must be said that sometimes a woman's sixth sense is really accurate. "Don't even think about it. I'll have the sisters keep a close eye on you." Humph. Then, without waiting for Wang Yunxiao to explain, Emma warned fiercely. Clearly, she had already made up her mind. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 177 The Miserable Tony. Don't talk nonsense. How could I be that kind of person? Don't worry, I'll teach Clarice a lesson. Wang Yunxiao glared at Emma, then tried to change the subject. How do you teach me? Do you mean in bed? Unfortunately, Emma wasn't fooled, and her words became even more outspoken. "Oh, I'm telling you, mind your words, okay? Don't forget Clarice is still here." Wang Yunxiao choked. He had been thinking that way to begin with, and now that Emma had exposed him, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Emma stuck out her pink tongue, realizing her words were somewhat inappropriate, and quickly turned to look at Clarice. By then, Clarice's face was already flushed with shame, her head practically hanging down to her chest. HMPH. It's all your fault. Clarice, let's go and ignore this bad guy. Emma glared at Wang Yunxiao again, then grabbed Clarice and ran out. Wang Yunxiao was speechless for a moment, truly helpless against Emma. He could only smile bitterly to himself. After a brief few days together, Emma returned to the secret training base. However, this time, she made her way back with the help of Clarice's portal, saving her the tedious journey. It must be said that Clarice's ability was truly convenient. However, how to utilize it in combat was a question that required careful consideration. Clarice's biggest problem in combat was that she could only create portals by warping space, even for herself, which was undoubtedly extremely inconvenient. Furthermore, this special ability couldn't directly affect living beings, significantly reducing its lethality. However, if these two aspects could be targeted and further developed, Clarice's strength would undoubtedly surge. Unfortunately, neither of these were easy tasks. The first aspect, which seemed more difficult, was relatively easy to achieve. Simply by transforming Clarice into a zombie or harnessing the infinite energy within the space gem, it should be possible. By now, Wang Yunxiao had developed other ambitions for Clarice, and transforming her into a zombie was only natural. The space stone was a must-have for Wang Yunxiao, and there would always be a chance. As for the first aspect, there really wasn't a perfect solution, due to Clarice's own limitations. Perhaps, Bolivar could try to perfectly integrate the Red Devil's X gene into her. However, Bolivar and his team were currently focused on researching Mystique's X gene and improving the Sentinel robots, leaving them with no time for such a task. Furthermore, the Red Devil's whereabouts remained a mystery, and his ability to teleport made him difficult to capture. Therefore, Wang Yunxiao's only option for Clarice's development was to further refine her portal creation speed. If she could achieve instantaneous power, it would undoubtedly be a significant improvement. However, it's unknown what Emma said to the girls before she left, but for a long time afterwards, they kept a close watch on Wang Yunxiao, like a thief. Even when he was helping Clarice develop her abilities, he was always accompanied by someone, rarely giving him any chance to be alone with her. Unfortunately, what the girls didn't know was that often, a man doesn't necessarily need to be alone to attract a woman, especially when he's inherently charming and attractive. Okay, that's a bit shameless. How time flew by, and it was already 1973. Today was Tony's third birthday, and as his godfather, Wang Yunxiao naturally had to celebrate. In the evening, Wang Yunxiao took Ada Wang, Selena, and Clarice to Stark Manor. Howard had been incredibly busy with SHIELD for some reason, so Tony's birthday this year wasn't a grand celebration, just a small family gathering. It's worth noting that over the past 2 years of spending time together, Wang Yunxiao and Clarice's relationship has intensified, especially this year. Perhaps realizing that keeping an eye on Wang Yunxiao was futile, the women have resigned themselves to his actions, though they've also decided to show him some strength. Now, Clarice has been accepted into Wang Yunxiao's harem, transformed into a zombie. Her surprise afterward is beyond words. After successfully ascending to the third generation of zombiehood, her spatial abilities can now affect living beings. While only those weaker than hers are terrifying enough, it's still terrifying enough. Just imagine, teleporting people to an unknown destination with a wave of her hand. How terrifying would that be? Furthermore, after 2 years of tireless effort, Clarice has also reached the point of instantly opening a portal. These two combined forces have catapulted her power to a terrifying degree. In terms of spatial abilities alone, even Wang Yunxiao pales in comparison. Furthermore, with Clarice, Wang Yunxiao no longer fears being separated from the women for extended periods. He can teleport whenever he wishes. Perhaps this was a very important reason why the women were able to accept Clarice so smoothly. Welcome. Come on in. Howard hasn't come back yet. Looks like we'll have to wait a little longer. Arriving at Stark Manor, Maria, the hostess, warmly ushered Wang Yunxiao and the others into the house, holding Tony, the star of tonight's birthday party. I don't know what this guy is busy with. He's even late for our handsome little boy's birthday party. But it doesn't matter. Let the godfather treat you well. Hey, Wang Yunxiao muttered, slightly dissatisfied, then naturally opened his arms. No. Don't. Seeing Wang Yunxiao's attitude, Tony subconsciously shrank back into his mother's arms. His extremely repulsive look was truly adorable. Tony, be good. Maria shook her head with a smile. After sending Tony into Wang Yunxiao's arms, she pulled Clarice aside to talk in private. What's the matter, little Tony? Do you have any problem with the godfather? Wang Yunxiao pretended to be sad, looking directly into Tony's big round eyes. No. Tony decisively followed his heart and shook his head repeatedly. Unfortunately, he still underestimated Wang Yunxiao's bad taste. That's good, otherwise the godfather would be really sad. Come, let the godfather see if your capital has grown. In the future, you will inherit your father's title of the strongest playboy in the United States. Wang Yunxiao smiled wickedly and pulled down Tony's pants. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 178 Unknown Major Event. Under Tony's horrified gaze, Wang Yunxiao, with a touch of wicked amusement, stretched out a sinister hand, flicking at some unspeakable part. No, Nito's lips pursed, and he screamed. Not far away, Maria and Ada Wang just exchanged dry smiles. Though they'd seen this happen more than once, they were still somewhat unconvinced that Wang Yunxiao had such a wicked taste. However, they didn't intervene. It was always the same, once the two had enough fun, it would be over. But this was a difficult situation for Tony, and it's no wonder he reacted the way he did when he first met Wang Yunxiao. Just as Tony was in dire straits, the door opened, revealing Howard, who had hurried back, and Jarvis, his butler and bodyguard. Hey, men, you're like that again. Can you stop being so childish? Upon seeing Wang Yunxiao's wicked expression and his pitiful son, Howard held his sword in his hand and said helplessly. Tisk, what do you know? I'm just training him up so he can take over from you someday, Wang Yunxiao replied smugly, unfazed. You bastard. Howard was completely speechless. Taking advantage of the moment when Wang Yunxiao and Howard were distracted, Tony wriggled free of Wang Yunxiao, dragging his pants, which hung around his ankles, towards Howard. Of course, Wang Yunxiao had deliberately let him go, as was their usual pattern. Be careful, my dear. Howard quickly took 2 steps forward and scooped up the aggrieved Tony, his eyes filled with doting. After some more coaxing, Howard handed the little boy to Maria, who had come to meet him, and they went to his study. Tell me, what's been going on lately? Even you, a lazy guy, have become so busy. In the study, they each lit a thin cigar before Wang Yunxiao began to inquire. You haven't had any contact with those mutants lately, have you? Howard asked, his expression serious. No. How come this is related to mutants? Could it be that Magneto? Wang Yunxiao was startled for a moment, then a sudden realization struck him. Yes, Magneto escaped from prison and killed many of the guards guarding him. You know, many in the US government have a deep hatred for mutants. Howard didn't finish his words, but Wang Yunxiao understood his point. So, this thing fell on you? No wonder, but I'm afraid it's unlikely you'll catch him again. Wang Yunxiao said this, but his mind was elsewhere. Yes, but who put us in charge of this kind of thing? Those damn guys. Howard didn't notice Wang Yunxiao's change of heart, but continued to curse. It was unclear whether he was cursing Magneto and his mutants, or the US government. After a few more small talk, the two were informed that the birthday dinner could begin. During dinner, when Wang Yunxiao brought out Tony's favorite gift, the little guy's face instantly brightened, and he kept calling him Godfather, with overwhelming joy. As expected, children are the cutest and easiest to coax. Unlike the girls, well, it's all tears. And so, even though only two families were present, tonight's birthday party was a warm and wonderful one. After leaving Stark Manor and getting into the car, Wang Yunxiao fell into deep thought. Mystique has been captured, being used as a guinea pig by Bolivar and the other two. Unexpectedly, Magneto's prison break still happened, albeit a little later than in the original novel. Who helped him escape this time? Wang Yunxiao didn't really care whether Magneto escaped. But the timing of his escape was crucial, and it forced him to think further. You know, according to the original historical trajectory, a major event would occur this year, one that would have significant implications not only for Magneto but for every mutant. That event would be the events of X-Men, Days of Future Past. This event even spawned a new parallel universe, with a new history separate from the original. In X-Men, Days of Future Past, in the year 2023, the mutant community is facing extinction due to a massive hunt by the latest generation of Sentinel robots. Forced to use the power of Phantom, Wolverine's consciousness travels through time and space to the present, seeking out powerful mutants like Professor X and Magneto in an attempt to change history and reverse the future. However, due to the unexpected intervention of Wang Yunxiao, the creator of the Sentinels, Bolivar, has now been subjugated by him. He will no longer allow the Sentinels to carry out such actions in the future. Will that history ever repeat itself? However, Wang Yunxiao never underestimated this world. Even without Bolivar, who knew if some other mad scientist would emerge and create something similar to the Sentinel robot? After all, the Marvel Universe is never short of geniuses. Ada, Selina, keep an eye on the mutant community for the time being, especially the movements of Professor X, Magneto, and Wolverine. With this in mind, Wang Yunxiao instructed Ada Wong and Selina. Understood. Ada Wong and Selina agreed in unison, neither questioning Wang Yunxiao's reasoning. Also, Clarice, go to the training base as soon as possible and bring back Selene. Have her mobilize the power of the Hellfire Club, Wang Yunxiao said after a moment's hesitation. Okay. I'll notify Sister Selene and then go get her. Clarice was slightly startled, then nodded and called Selene directly. Seeing Wang Yunxiao's seriousness, Ada Wong and Clarice exchanged a glance, both knowing the gravity of the situation. Their expressions grew serious. Wang Yunxiao, once again lost in thought, pondered how he would cope if the events of X-Men, Days of Future Past truly unfolded. Or, more accurately, what benefits could he gain from it? Returning to the manor, Clarice brought Selene back with her. That night, the intelligence systems of the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club were fully mobilized, like an invisible net, silently enveloping the mutants, especially the three individuals Wang Yunxiao had singled out. Thank you, handsome, for your guaranteed monthly pass. Sorry, today's update is late, but here are the 3 more. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 179 Gun Move. For a long time, the intelligence systems of the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club were fully operational, closely monitoring Professor X, Magneto, and Wolverine, as well as the mutants close to them. Among them, Professor X, with his telepathic abilities, was the most difficult to monitor, or, more accurately, completely impossible to monitor. However, that was when he was in his normal state, unlike his current state, where he was consumed by endless self-blame and depression, willingly suppressing his abilities. If the plot of X-Men, Days of Future Past were to unfold, this surveillance would likely be exposed immediately. Wang Yunxiao wasn't completely unprepared. Those tasked with monitoring Professor X weren't affiliated with the Umbrella Corporation or the Hellfire Club. They were simply paid intelligence agencies, even those whose employers they didn't know. Wang Yunxiao's actions were, of course, driven by a desire to be the first to learn about the events of X-Men, Days of Future Past. Truly, the implications of this incident were immense, affecting the future of the world, particularly major events affecting the mutant community. If Wolverine and the others succeeded in reversing the future, Wang Yunxiao's original plans would be disrupted, forcing him to rethink everything. Wang Yunxiao hadn't shared the details of this incident with the women, for no other reason than that even he couldn't be certain. If the plot didn't unfold, wouldn't that only cause them more trouble? Thus, the days passed, one after another, in Wang Yunxiao's conflicted and anxious way, a mixture of anticipation and denial. However, by the end of 1973, nothing had happened. The conclusion was clear: Wang Yunxiao was simply too sensitive. It seemed that even within the Marvel Universe, a top scientist like Bolivar was irreplaceable. This provided a crucial basis for his future decisions. While feeling a sense of regret, Wang Yunxiao wasn't disappointed. With the results, his future plans for the mutant community would become clearer. Since nothing had happened, everything naturally returned to normal. Honestly, the past 6 months of torment had truly exhausted the women. This exhaustion was only slightly physical, but more mental, primarily due to the constant tension they maintained. Afterward, Wang Yunxiao didn't explain anything, and the women tacitly agreed not to question him. They completely trusted Wang Yunxiao. Time flew by, and before they knew it, 2 more years had passed. The underground base of the Umbrella Industrial Park, nearly 6 years in the making, was finally complete. It's fair to say it's on par with the Umbrella Hive base from the Resident Evil universe, if not surpassing it. It boasted state-of-the-art laboratories, even surpassing them. Charles and the other 2 immediately moved their labs in, their research enthusiasm intensifying. There were also simulation training systems, facilities, and equipment that were equally world-class. Emma and her beloved students had already moved in from West Virginia. It must be said that this simulation training system was truly effective, with the women praising it endlessly. Wang Yunxiao was most proud of the underground base's security system. Even looking into the future, he was confident it was undeniably top-notch. The entire base was not only dotted with numerous high-tech traps and devices, but security was also handled by Special Forces soldiers injected with super soldier serum. That didn't even include the over 100 mutants soon to be deployed, capable of independent operations, and the latest Sentinel robots, which Bolivar was about to complete their improvements. Most importantly, the underground base's security system was completely controlled by Red Queen. Yes, Red Queen. As soon as construction began on the underground base, Arnim had abandoned all his current research to focus solely on building Red Queen, completing it 2 years ago. This was a brand new Red Queen, dedicated to Wang Yunxiao's service. Aside from sharing the same underlying code, she had no connection to the one from the Resident Evil universe. After building Red Queen, Arnim even optimized White Queen, making her even more powerful and not much inferior to Red Queen. From then on, the two had a clear division of labor. Red Queen oversaw the operation of the entire underground base, while White Queen remained in charge of the Umbrella Tower. However, this seemed extravagant, even wasteful. After all, both Red Queen and White Queen were top-tier AIs. But this arrangement was only temporary. Wang Yunxiao had other plans for White Queen, but the time hadn't arrived yet. Regardless, with the completion of the underground base, Wang Yunxiao's foundation was undoubtedly strengthened, and his restless spirit began to stir once again. However, this would have to wait, not only until the over 100 mutants were combat-ready, but also until Bolivar's latest Sentinel robots were completed and formed into an army. It's worth noting that with continued research into Mystique's X gene, and with the help of Charles and Arnim, Bolivar's latest Sentinel robot has already possessed capabilities comparable to the Sentinels in X-Men, Days of Future Past, capable of instantly transforming and reconfiguring themselves to suit their enemies, cornering mutants. As for why Wang Yunxiao is so cautious, it's because he's about to pull off a major move, one that could alter the course of history. This forces Wang Yunxiao to exercise caution. Who knows if it will attract the attention of the truly godlike Danon, or even intervene. If such a situation were to occur, no matter how cautious he is or how thorough his preparations, the outcome would be uncertain. Ultimately, Wang Yunxiao's strength is insufficient. If he could successfully ascend to the next generation of zombies, the Zombie King, what would he fear? While the risks are immense, Wang Yunxiao feels compelled to undertake this undertaking. If successful, the rewards for his endeavor would be staggering. It could even be said that, in terms of sheer strength, they would absolutely become the top power on Earth. No other Earth power could threaten them, not even the US government. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't rashly initiate this major move, he would wait for the right opportunity. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 180 Supreme Age Ancient One. The autumn wind blew, the grass withered and yellowed. In the blink of an eye, it was already 1978, and Wang Yunxiao had finally waited for the right moment. That day, a group of uninvited guests arrived in northeastern Africa. Leading them was none other than Wang Yunxiao, flanked by Ryan, Ada Wong, Emma, Selena, Selene, and Clarice. Is this really our target? It's just a very poor, backward agricultural country, barely surviving thanks to international aid every year. Ada Wong's words were filled with disbelief and doubt. This was the first time she had ever expressed such doubt in her entire life. It wasn't just Ada Wong, but the other women as well. They couldn't believe that after all these years of planning, Wang Yunxiao's target was only such a poor, backward country. Many times, even what we see isn't necessarily true. Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, his gaze towards Wakanda shimmering with an inexplicable light. True. Wang Yunxiao had set his sights on Wakanda, the future of Earth's most technologically advanced nation, years ago, and had been planning for this very purpose for years. Just imagine, if Wang Yunxiao could truly control all of Wakanda and monopolize Earth's most precious resource, vibranium, how far would his power expand? Huh? Wang Yunxiao let out a long breath, his heart already brimming with impatience. He opened his mouth, about to say something, but his expression suddenly changed. Almost instantly, without giving Wang Yunxiao any chance to react, he felt a flash of light before his eyes, and he suddenly appeared in a dim space. Is it finally here? Wang Yunxiao murmured softly, his face showing no sign of surprise, as if he had expected this. Mr. Wang, we finally meet. With his calm voice, a bald woman in yellow monk's robes suddenly appeared across from Wang Yunxiao. If possible, I wouldn't want to meet you so soon, Ancient One. Wang Yunxiao's pupils constricted, and he shook his head with a wry smile. Even with his 5 senses, and his sensitivity to spatial fluctuations as a dimensional user, he hadn't detected a single trace of the Ancient One's arrival. It was indeed the Ancient One, Earth's most powerful guardian, possessing the power of a godfather, the ruler of Kamartaj, the sorcerer supreme. Wang Yunxiao wasn't surprised by the Ancient One's arrival, he had been mentally prepared for this since he set his sights on Wakanda. After all, Wakanda is, and will always be, Earth's most technologically advanced nation. Furthermore, its future ruler, T'Challa, the Black Panther, is not only a superhero in the Avengers, but also one of the chosen ones of the entire Marvel Universe. As Earth's guardian, and someone who always adhered to the normal order of history, it was no surprise that the Ancient One intervened to stop Wang Yunxiao's actions. It seems you truly know a great deal, a visitor from another dimension. If so, why do you still seek to disrupt the normal order of this universe? The Ancient One's tone remained calm, his gaze fixed on Wang Yunxiao unwavering. Yet, the invisible pressure he exerted on Wang Yunxiao was far greater than any enemy he had ever faced, rendering him unable to muster any resistance. What is the normal order of the universe? Wang Yunxiao asked instead. Simultaneously, he himself underwent a drastic transformation. His sharp zombie fangs bared, his eyes transformed into emerald green pupils, revealing his zombie form. Only in this way could he resist the Ancient One's invisible pressure. Are you a zombie? The Ancient One didn't answer, but instead studied Wang Yunxiao with a hint of surprise, seemingly more interested in his current form. Even with his vast knowledge, the Ancient One had never seen a zombie form like this. Yes, Wang Yunxiao nodded calmly. There was nothing to hide. No wonder, the Ancient One pondered, as if realizing something. It turns out that when Wang Yunxiao first arrived in the Marvel Universe, the Ancient One didn't immediately notice her, a near impossible scenario for her. To put it bluntly, if she wanted to, she could control everything she wanted to know about Earth. Furthermore, Earth was shrouded in the Camartage barrier, specifically designed to protect against invasions from the Dark Universe, parallel universes, and aliens like Wang Yunxiao. His arrival, however, shattered this defense. The Ancient One's only real interest in Wang Yunxiao came during his decisive battle with the Red Skull, which activated the Space Stone. However, before the Ancient One could act, he once again traveled to the world of Resident Evil. From that point on, the Ancient One truly remembered Wang Yunxiao. Although Wang Yunxiao had been transported to a corner of the universe by the Space Stone, she had a vague feeling that she would inevitably return to Earth. So, she instructed the New York Temple to monitor Wang Yunxiao's progress. Indeed, from the very beginning, the Ancient One believed that Wang Yunxiao had been transported to a certain part of the universe by the Space Stone. This assumption persisted until Wang Yunxiao returned from the Resident Evil universe, bringing with him two daughters, Rain and Ada Wang. Only then did she truly realize that Wang Yunxiao likely possessed the ability to travel freely across dimensions and time. This also caused the Ancient One to abandon his plans for an immediate meeting with him and instead decided to observe him for a while to understand the true nature of his ability. Even Wang Yunxiao himself was unaware that his subsequent actions were essentially all within the Ancient One's reach, leaving him with no secrets. This wasn't entirely a bad thing, however. It made the Ancient One increasingly cautious in his approach to him, refusing to act rashly until he had fully grasped his true potential. Think about it, being able to effortlessly enhance the strength of those around him and bringing back powerful individuals from other dimensions, either of these things forced the Ancient One to treat him with caution. Perhaps, with Wang Yunxiao's current strength, even with the addition of the other women and Charles, the Ancient One wouldn't have taken him seriously, but he was wary of leaving more damage behind. While she wasn't afraid, she couldn't risk the entirety of Camartage. Wang Yunxiao's ability to travel through time and space is simply too buggy. Not to mention that Ancient One still hasn't figured out what's going on. Even if she did, there's still no good way to solve it. However, now that Wang Yunxiao has his sights set on Wakanda, Ancient One can no longer sit idly by. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 181 Ancient One retreats. Retreat. And promise not to do anything that disrupts the normal order of this universe again. I can pretend that what happened today never happened. Ancient One's tone, though calm, held an undeniable tone. You haven't answered me yet. What constitutes the normal order of the universe? Wang Yunxiao asked calmly, his expression unchanged. You know, every universe has its own established historical trajectory. Any attempt to alter this trajectory can be considered a disruption of the normal order. Ancient One stared into Wang Yunxiao's eyes. Seeing that he remained unmoved, he spoke seriously. Oh? But in my opinion, the fact that I've arrived in this universe and can survive normally in it means that this universe has accepted me. And everything I do now is in line with its historical trajectory. How can you say that I'm disrupting the normal order? Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, staring at Ancient One unyieldingly. Spurious arguments. You should know that to this universe, you're just a visitor from another dimension, a variable, Ancient One said in a deep voice, his expression growing increasingly serious. Variables? Master Ancient One, you should know that everything has variables, perhaps me, or perhaps someone else. But since it can be called a variable, it means it's accepted by the universe. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many parallel universes. Wang Yunxiao interrupted Ancient One with a faint smile, retorting. Of course, what he said sounded like a bunch of twisted theories to Ancient One. Ultimately, our positions differ. There's no right or wrong, it's all about profit. Master Ancient One, let's stop this pointless argument. No matter what you say, you won't change my mind. After a pause, Wang Yunxiao spoke decisively, not waiting for Ancient One to say anything. Then whoever defeats me will stop you. Ancient One's response was equally resolute. Master Ancient One, you overestimate me. As Earth's only god-level master, how could I possibly be your opponent? Wang Yunxiao shrugged, bluntly demonstrating his weakness. However, to stop me, you'll have to utterly destroy me. But I guarantee you can't. Wang Yunxiao's demeanor shifted, and he smiled confidently. The Ancient One remained silent, tacitly assenting to Wang Yunxiao's statement. Even if you truly wanted to trap me, it's unlikely. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Yunxiao, as if to prove his point, vanished into the dim spatial barrier. The next moment, Wang Yunxiao, through a mysterious space, broke free from the Ancient One's barrier and emerged onto the streets of New York. However, before he could even breathe a sigh of relief, he was trapped back within the Ancient One's barrier. Looking at the Ancient One's expressionless face, Wang Yunxiao, though he showed no emotion, sighed bitterly within. This only intensified his resolve to obtain the Tesseract. If his special abilities were further enhanced, how could he be so easily trapped? Even if the Ancient One used the Time Stone, he, with the Space Stone, would be able to withstand it. However, Wang Yunxiao wasn't particularly concerned about the current predicament, as he already had a solution, leveraging the situation. Otherwise, why would he have waited until now? Master Ancient One, is it really okay to continue entangled with me like this? Compared to small Wakanda, the Lord of the Dark Dimension is the issue you should be more concerned about, right? However, Wang Yunxiao didn't reveal his trump card directly, but instead tried to bring up Dormammu. Unless absolutely necessary, Wang Yunxiao truly didn't want to reveal more, as that would make the Ancient One even more wary of him, potentially leading to future complications. However, the Ancient One remained unmoved, and even Wang Yunxiao wasn't overly surprised to learn about Dormammu. Okay, Dormammu may not invade Earth again anytime soon, but what about Ego, a fellow Celestial? From what I hear, he's already here. Do you think he's just visiting? Wang Yunxiao felt helpless, but not overly disappointed. He had no choice but to unleash his ultimate weapon. You know, this time, the Ancient One was genuinely shocked. If Dormammu had always been plotting against Earth and was Kamartaj's greatest enemy, there would inevitably be some clues. However, Ego's sudden arrival on Earth was completely unexpected. More importantly, as long as Ego hadn't revealed herself, no one on Earth would have been aware of it, save for her, a fellow Heavenly Father. Master Ancient One, please don't worry about how I knew this. I simply felt it would be better to focus on that person instead of wasting time on me. After all, I'm a member of Earth, too. All my family and friends live on Earth, and I don't want anything to happen to Earth. Seeing the Ancient One's reaction, Wang Yunxiao was overjoyed and spoke with even greater confidence. The Ancient One's composure had returned to its original calm. He stared at Wang Yunxiao in silence, his pupils slightly constricted, clearly genuinely wary of him. Before this, the Ancient One had been merely cautious of him, far from fearful. But from this moment on, everything would change. Under immense pressure, Wang Yunxiao clearly sensed the Ancient One's change. This was undoubtedly the outcome he least wanted to see, but now that things had come to a head, he had no choice but to resort to this inferior leverage to force the Ancient One back. Wang Yunxiao's calculations were accurate. The Ancient One could never have imagined that Ego would suddenly, on impulse, come to Earth for a romantic encounter. Not to mention the Ancient One, if he didn't understand the plot, even he wouldn't have believed that a godlike being like Ego could so spontaneously act like this. Wang Yunxiao and the Ancient One stared at each other for an indeterminate amount of time. Well, to call it a stalemate was giving Wang Yunxiao some credit. From beginning to end, it was the Ancient One who was unilaterally weighing her options, while Wang Yunxiao, under immense pressure, simply waited for the Ancient One's judgment. That's right, a judgment. It was a terrible feeling, but the disparity in power was too great. Facing the godlike Ancient One, Wang Yunxiao was completely outmatched and had no chance of resistance. Finally, after giving Wang Yunxiao another deep look, Guyu left as quietly and abruptly as she had arrived. From beginning to end, she didn't say another word, but the more she did so, the greater the pressure she placed on Wang Yunxiao. Thanks to book friend 201910300446081885 for the guaranteed monthly ticket. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 182. The war is about to begin. Honey, are you okay? What just happened? What's going on? Upon seeing Wang Yunxiao reappear, the women immediately surrounded him, their expressions filled with anxiety and concern. Don't worry, I'm fine. How long have I been gone? Wang Yunxiao reassured them before asking, a little anxiously. He asked because he wanted to know if the Ancient One had used the Time Stone when trapping him. This would allow him to better assess the extent of the gap between them. 56 minutes and 23 seconds, however, Ryan's precise answer confirmed Wang Yunxiao's overestimation. Even without the time stone, the gap between them was still as vast as an incalculable chasm. In fact, the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One, whom I mentioned earlier, has just come to see me. Wang Yunxiao smiled wryly and shook himself, unconcealing everything that had happened. After hearing Wang Yunxiao's story, the women fell silent for a moment, their eyes gleaming with uncontrollable shock. They felt an inexplicable, immense pressure descend upon them, nearly suffocating them. Although they had long heard from Wang Yunxiao that there were beings of celestial father level or even greater power throughout the Marvel Universe, they had never imagined that their own strength was so far removed from that level. So, do we still need to attack Wakanda? Clarice asked worriedly after a long pause. We must attack. Whether Wakanda is a poor, backward agricultural nation or the most technologically advanced nation on Earth, we must capture it. Otherwise, we will be psychologically extremely weak, and we will be even more vulnerable when facing the Ancient One in the future. Selene spoke decisively before Wang Yunxiao could even respond. As the oldest mutant in existence, Selene not only saw things through to the core, but was also the first to break free from the immense pressure brought on by the Ancient One. However, even she still couldn't believe that Wakanda was the most technologically advanced nation on Earth. Well, seeing is believing, and there was no question of belief. That's right. In conquering Wakanda, we must succeed, not fail. Only by completely controlling Wakanda can our power truly stand at the pinnacle of Earth's power, and we can better secure our position. In the future, whether facing the Ancient One or other cosmic powers from beyond Earth, we will be better equipped to contend. Wang Yunxiao spoke in a deep voice, his expression unprecedentedly resolute. The women nodded solemnly at his words. They remained steadfast by Wang Yunxiao's side, and with his encouragement, they all emerged from the immense pressure brought on by the Ancient One. Then, Clarice, I'll be working on your business from now on, Wang Yunxiao said softly, smiling at her gently. Leave it to me, Clarice smiled confidently, immediately opening a portal and leading Rain, Selena, and Emma through. Soon, another, even larger portal opened. The first to emerge were Emma's 100-plus mutants, protected by Charles, Bolivar, and Arnim, along with a massive, technologically advanced machine. Following them came Ryan and Selena's 1,000-plus special forces, all injected with a new super soldier serum. Each wielded a jet black metal javelin. Wang Yunxiao's prized sentinel robots, capable of instantly transforming and reconfiguring themselves according to the enemy and the battlefield, lay quietly within his personal space. These were the true force of this battle, numbering in the hundreds. In a flash, Wang Yunxiao's entire force arrived. Logically, Wakanda should have been aware of the situation and prepared immediately, but the Wakandan tribes in the distance remained silent, completely oblivious to the impending danger. As the saying goes, when things are out of the ordinary, there must be something wrong. The women exchanged bewilderment, instantly realizing something was amiss. They finally began to believe Wang Yunxiao's words. Perhaps Wakanda truly was the most technologically advanced nation on Earth, leading them to act so confidently. Forward, Wang Yunxiao gave a calm smile and a deep command. He then charged forward, charging towards the distant Wakandan tribes, with the others following closely behind. Wang Yunxiao knew all too well what Wakanda was planning. It was simply their immense confidence in the invisible energy barrier that enveloped the nation, waiting for him and his companions to return empty-handed, unable to even locate their true territory. As expected, when Wang Yunxiao and his companions reached the Wakandan tribes, they found them completely deserted. Furthermore, based on the evidence at the scene, it seemed the original inhabitants had only recently evacuated. Wang Yunxiao, without hesitation, led the group into the pristine forest not far behind the tribes. However, before they had ventured far into the forest, they were stunned by the scene before them. The boundless paradise wilderness, the Black Warrior River running through it, the towering Mount Wakanda, the majestic central palace perched atop it, the fertile Kanda Mountains, the pristine peaks capped with snow, all of it formed a magnificent canvas. Most astonishing of all was the elaborately arranged cluster of modern buildings centered around the central palace. No. These structures were even more advanced than metropolises like New York, perhaps they simply didn't belong to this era. At that moment, the women finally truly believed what Wang Yunxiao had said. The facts were before their eyes, compelling them to believe, Just then, a massive convoy of high-tech armored vehicles sped towards Wang Yunxiao and his companions, stopping several thousand meters away. Team after team of Wakandan warriors leaped from their off-road vehicles and formed into formations, their expressions solemn and murderous, gazing towards them. Tens of thousands of them. From their various attire, it's clear they're from different tribes, roughly divided into 6, the Wakanda royal family, and the 5 major tribes, the mountain, border, river, mining, and merchant. Some ride horses, some are accompanied by giant apes or rhinos, and their equipment varies. But they all have one thing in common: they're all equipped with high-tech weapons, far beyond the realm of modern technology. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183: Energy Shield Broken. Across the vast wilderness, Wang Yunxiao and the Wakandans faced off, thousands of meters apart. While the Wakandans held a significant numerical advantage, Wang Yunxiao's forces were more individually powerful, even capable of overcoming this numerical disadvantage. Suddenly, 4 figures emerged from the Wakandan army, sprinting towards Wang Yunxiao. They were all clad in pitch black, vibranium-clad Black Panther armor. They were none other than the current Wakanda Black Panthers, King Zenda, Queen Nunnally, Prince Suang, and Prince T'Chaka. These 4 were, of course, Wakanda's strongest forces. Interesting, Wang Yunxiao found this preemptive negotiation process intriguing, and immediately led Ada Wong, Selene, and Selena to meet them. Wait, Wang Yunxiao called out to the 3 women after they were several hundred meters away. As the 3 women stared at him in confusion, he casually picked up a dead branch and flung it forward. Sizzle, the next moment, the branch, after being flung a meter away, suddenly stopped in midair. A faint blue energy shield suddenly lit up where it stopped, and the branch was instantly consumed by a stream of dark blue flames. The 3 women's pupils shrank. They had never imagined that Wakanda could possess such a method. Although they hadn't experienced it firsthand, they all keenly sensed that this heavy energy shield would undoubtedly pose a threat to them. It was truly worthy of being the most technologically advanced nation on Earth. If it doesn't even have this kind of method, how do you think Wakanda has survived to this day? Or do you think I'm the first to discover Wakanda's differences? Wang Yunxiao laughed uncontrollably and said unhappily to the 3 women. Tisk. The 3 women rolled their eyes at Wang Yunxiao. Well, with the battle imminent, the 3 women were still in the mood to playfully engage Wang Yunxiao, demonstrating their immense confidence in the battle. Even with the energy shield so close at hand, they believed Wang Yunxiao could easily handle it. And so, under the watchful eyes of Wang Yunxiao and the others, Zenda and the other 3 stood several meters away, staring at each other through the invisible energy shield. Mr. Wang, why are you invading Wakanda? Zenda demanded, anger threatening to burst forth. Earth's most technologically advanced nation, isn't that reason enough? Furthermore, Wakanda controls vibranium, a rare resource unique to the entire planet. Wang Yunxiao made no secret of his ambition and greed, smiling openly. You, as a World War II superhero, how could you commit such a heinous act? Zenda's face flushed with rage, his words trembling as he accused. Hero or villain, I am who I am. I won't let these false names change my decision. Wang Yunxiao shrugged, unfazed by Zenda's accusations. Brother, stop wasting time with him. Let's fight. We Wakanda warriors never fear war. Seeing Zenda about to say something, Su Yang shouted. Fight. The young and energetic Prince T'Chaka raised his spear high, his thunderous roar echoing across the wilderness. Fight. 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 Encouraged by the prince's words, tens of thousands of Wakandan warriors behind Zenda and the other 3 shouted in unison. Seeing this, Zenda, no matter how much he wanted to avoid fighting Wang Yunxiao's forces, it was no longer possible. A flash of pain and resentment flashed in his eyes. He wasn't afraid of fighting. But he knew better than anyone that war often comes with death. As the king of Wakanda, how could he bear to see his people sacrificed? It's okay. We still have the energy shield to protect us. Perhaps they won't even be able to penetrate it. Nunnally, sensing her husband's feelings, gently soothed him. I hope so. Zenda sighed wistfully, the pain and reluctance on his face vanishing as a surge of fighting power erupted. At that moment, he was the iron-blooded king. Then let us fight, Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, unfazed by the Wakandans' high morale. Without even turning back, he waved his hand. Charles and the other two were the first to spring into action. Led by Arnim, the three quickly manipulated the high-tech instrument, sending invisible pulses radiating in all directions. Simultaneously, a faint blue light emanated from the dark metal javelins in the hands of over 1,000 Special Forces soldiers. It was a remarkable coincidence, it was identical to the Wakanda energy shield. But was it really so? Fire! With Rain's resounding cry, over 1,000 Special Forces soldiers instantly hurled their metal javelins, aiming directly at the energy shield in front of Wang Yunxiao and his men. Puff, 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 metal javelins rained down like raindrops, piercing deeply into the energy shield, some half piercing it. And, as if pre-rehearsed, each javelin was spaced about a meter apart. As Arnim and his companions continued their maneuvers, over 1,000 javelins simultaneously erupted in a blinding blue light, emitting the same effect throughout the entire energy shield, completely exposed to everyone's view. Watching this scene, Wang Yunxiao smiled with great joy. Arnim and his companions had indeed not disappointed him. The energy shield enveloping Wakanda would no longer be able to stop their advance. It turned out that Wang Yunxiao had been preparing for this energy shield for years. They had even quietly come to inspect it more than once, and Arnim and his companions had even conducted extensive data simulations. Although today was only their first real-world operation, the results so far showed that they had succeeded. Crackle! Suddenly, a blinding blue light erupted, completely blinding everyone, even Wang Yunxiao, who possessed superhuman five senses. All they could hear was a rapid, piercing cacophony of shrieks, like the chirping of hundreds of birds. After a long moment, the blinding blue light gradually dissipated, leaving only a barely perceptible blue glow on both the thousands of metal javelins and Wakanda's energy shield. Crack! 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 The first fine crack appeared on the energy shield, followed by a dense network of cracks that spread across the structure. Buzz! The next moment, a gentle breeze blew, and the entire shield exploded, dispersing into the air. With this, the energy shield that had protected Wakanda for nearly a century was completely destroyed, leaving the entire country wide open, completely exposed to Wang Yunxiao's forces. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 184 The Tragedy of Wakanda. Fight! The hot-tempered Su Yang and the youthful and energetic T'Chaka immediately rushed towards Wang Yunxiao, their aura thick with murderous intent, ready to strike down anyone they could. However, they were stopped by Ada Wong, Selene, and Selena. Fearing her son would suffer, Lilina also quickly joined the fray. Wang Yunxiao and Zenda were the only ones left standing, still locked in a stalemate. However, compared to Zenda's concern and worry, Wang Yunxiao showed no concern for the three women. If they weren't all clad in Black Panther armor, they wouldn't last more than a few rounds against them. Fight! 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 Roared the Wakandan warriors, charging from afar. Wang Yunxiao, however, seemed oblivious, not even commanding those behind him to advance and engage. He simply waved his hand nonchalantly. Boom! 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 The next moment, as Zenda and the entire Wakandan army watched in disbelief and terror, one after another, several meter-tall, metallic shimmering sentinel robots slammed down onto the wilderness, blocking the Wakandan army's path. What is this? Zenda couldn't help but exclaim, his voice trembling slightly with excitement. Although Wakanda was Earth's most technologically advanced nation, its thinking was limited by the times. Furthermore, their over-reliance on vibranium meant they hadn't considered developing robots, not just now, but even in the distant future. The ensuing cries of agony were Zenda's most direct and brutal response. Hundreds of sentinel robots easily ripped through the Wakandan army's defenses, charging into their ranks like a tiger among a flock of sheep, slaughtering those around them with wanton abandon. The Wakandan warriors were valiant enough to resist the sentinels' ruthless brutality. Instead, they launched a fierce counterattack. However, their high-tech weapons only left shallow scratches on the sentinel's steel. The disparity in strength was so vast that the numerical advantage was completely negated, resulting in only further casualties. This frightened Zenda, so much so that he didn't even bother with Wang Yunxiao, turning to rush back for reinforcements. King Zenda, where are you going? In a flash, Wang Yunxiao blocked Zenda's path, gazing at him calmly, His lips curled up in a cruel archdemon. "You demon!" The hatred in Zenda's eyes nearly overwhelmed Wang Yunxiao, and without hesitation, he rushed towards Wang Yunxiao, striking him directly. Bang! Wang Yunxiao raised his arm and threw a punch, hitting Zenda's attacking fist with precision. With a dull thud, he was sent flying several meters away. Thump, thump, thump. With steady steps, Wang Yunxiao approached Zenda unhurriedly. It seemed that he was in no hurry to eliminate Zenda, as that would drive all of Wakanda into complete madness and cause unnecessary damage to his own side. "Damn you!" "Ah!" Zenda roared, standing up and desperately charging towards Wang Yunxiao again, like a beast completely trapped in despair. However, no matter how mad a beast was, it could not defeat a beast king stronger than it, just like the situation between Zenda and Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao just threw a punch and knocked Zenda away again. The tragic plight of the Wakandan army and the near-tortured situation on Zenda's side immediately caught the attention of Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka. However, they were already preoccupied with their own affairs and had no energy to help. Give up resistance. King Zenda. If you truly are a good king who loves your people like your own children, you should lead your subjects in complete surrender now to avoid further unnecessary casualties. After being blasted away again by Wang Yunxiao, Zenda remained unable to rise for a long time until Wang Yunxiao approached him and looked down at him from above. "Don't even think about it. The warriors of Wakanda will never compromise with evil." Zenda summoned his remaining strength, leaped to his feet, and punched Wang Yunxiao directly in the heart and throat. The two punches were delivered with incredible force, accompanied by a muffled sonic boom, far surpassing his previous performances. Or perhaps, all along, he had been deliberately pretending to be weak, waiting for this fatal blow? Well, if that were the case, then Zenda had to admit he was overthinking it. The disparity in strength between the two sides made any schemes and scheming futile. And indeed, Wang Yunxiao didn't even bother dodging. He raised his foot and launched a powerful kick, landing hard on Zenda's chest. Bang! Zenda slammed to the ground, creating a massive crater in the already fragile grass, embedding him deeply within. Why bother? King Zenda, if you're willing to declare your allegiance and submit to me, you can still live on this land. Or perhaps, you're just too skeptical to give up your current power. Wang Yunxiao, still looking down at Zenda from above, mocked him with a half-smile. "I will never allow my subjects to live under the shadow of a demon like you." Cough cough cough, Zenda muttered with difficulty, then began to cough violently, blood dripping from the corners of his mouth. But his eyes were sharp as knives, fixed fixedly on Wang Yunxiao. If looks could kill, Wang Yunxiao would have been hacked to pieces long ago. A pointless struggle? What's the point? Wang Yunxiao shrugged dismissively, but he didn't immediately kill Zenda. In truth, from the beginning, he had never considered killing Zenda. That would have been detrimental to his complete control of Wakanda. Unless Wang Yunxiao wanted to exterminate the entire population of Wakanda, that wouldn't matter. But Wang Yunxiao wasn't a murderer. Moreover, Wakanda's development depended on its people. However, Zenda's current behavior clearly showed his stubbornness, which made Wang Yunxiao doubt whether his initial decision was a mistake. Nearby, under the powerful attack of the three Ada Wang women, Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka were also in a precarious situation. It wasn't long before they were captured by the three women. Farther away, tens of thousands of Wakandan warriors, mercilessly slaughtered by sentinel robots, are in a horrific state, with nearly half already killed or wounded. With the addition of over 100 mutants and over 1,000 special forces soldiers, the Wakandan army has lost even its last bit of resistance, mournfully awaiting its imminent slaughter. Clearly, this inherently unequal war is drawing to a close. 3 updates for today. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 185 Black Panther God Best. A deafening roar echoed from the depths of Mount Wakanda, where the Wakandans held an altar dedicated to their Black Panther god. Following this, a majestic Black Panther phantom soared from the altar, its crimson, cold eyes surveying the battlefield below. For a moment, the entire battlefield fell silent. With the exception of the emotionless sentinel robots, most of the soldiers ceased fighting, especially those on the Wakandan side. What the hell is this? Rain, who had just arrived at Wang Yunxiao's side, exclaimed in disbelief. This sight was unprecedented, not only for her, but even for Wang Yunxiao, and completely unexpected. Black Panther God, you have truly not abandoned your people. Seeing this scene, Zenda, already filled with despair, burst into tears and roared with excitement. The next moment, Zenda, as if inspired by some mysterious force, rose to his feet with renewed vigor, his fighting spirit surging. Not only Zenda, but also Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka nearby, and even the remaining Wakandan warriors further afield, all shared the same sentiment, charging relentlessly at their respective opponents with a fierce determination. What further alarmed Wang Yunxiao and the others was the fact that these warriors seemed completely unaware of pain, endlessly overdrawing their potential, their fighting power reaching astonishing heights. However, even if this continued, even if they ultimately achieved victory, they would likely suffer a tragic end due to their excessive overdrawn potential. Of course, this possibility was completely impossible. If the current trend continued, Wang Yunxiao would simply suffer even greater damage. Even so, Wang Yunxiao could not sit idly by and allow this trend to continue. The key to the problem, naturally, lay with the so-called Black Panther god. You deal with this guy, I'll go see what's going on. A gleam of light flashed in Wang Yunxiao's eyes, and he immediately whispered to Lane beside him. Be careful. Leave this to us, Lane replied confidently, not worried about Wang Yunxiao's safety. What a joke, even the supreme wizard Gu Yi, who is at the level of the Father of Heaven, can't do anything to Wang Yunxiao, who on this earth can threaten him. From beginning to end, the two did not avoid Zenda in their conversation, and their contempt was obvious. Don't even think about it, Zenda roared, rushing towards Wang Yunxiao like a madman, trying to stop him and keep him here. After the brief fight just now, Zenda was already extremely afraid of his strength. However, Wang Yunxiao didn't even look at Zenda, and left the spot in an instant. Zenda didn't even have time to regret, he had to focus on dealing with Emma's relentless onslaught. Wang Yunxiao's figure darted across the boundless expanse of heavenly wilderness. In mere minutes, he arrived at the altar deep within the Wakanda Mountains. The scene before him, however, caught even the experienced Wang Yunxiao's attention. In the center of the altar, a humanoid figure stood solemnly. As he approached, the figure gradually solidified, transforming into true black beauty. Even Wang Yunxiao, accustomed to beautiful women, had to admit that this was a peerless beauty, with a tall, voluptuous figure, delicate features, and a radiant allure unique to black people. Who are you? Fortunately, Wang Yunxiao wasn't distracted by the beauty before him. He stopped only when he was several meters away from the black beauty, then asked with a hint of solemnity. It wasn't that Wang Yunxiao didn't want to get closer to the black beauty, or even resort to outright violence. Rather, with every step he took, the invisible pressure on him intensified. While still far from his limit, this invisible pressure tugged at him from all sides, significantly hindering his movements. More importantly, the black beauty gave Wang Yunxiao a strange feeling. It was as if she were both a physical entity and yet not a physical one, and that simply attacking her would do no harm. Well, it was hard to explain, but it made Wang Yunxiao realize that a rash attack on the black beauty would not only be useless, but would actually cause him considerable trouble. Wang Yunxiao, of Chinese descent, was a renowned allied superhero known as the God of War during World War II. He disappeared for nearly 11 years during the decisive battle with the Red Skull. He reappeared in New York in 1956, founded the Umbrella Corporation, and took control of the Hellfire Club in 1963. Black Beauty spoke indifferently, her voice ethereal and condescending. Who are you? Wang Yunxiao asked gravely, his brow furrowed slightly, displeased with the impression Black Beauty gave him. He wasn't entirely surprised by Black Beauty's words. With a little effort, such intelligence would be readily available. Moreover, Wakanda's intelligence system was undeniably world-class. My name is Best, Black Beauty declared proudly, her expression imbued with a superiority that only a hint of superiority could be gleaned. Best, Wang Yunxiao muttered the name to himself, feeling it rang very familiar. Well, wasn't that the pseudonym for the Black Panther god worshipped in Wakanda? Faith, thinking of this, Wang Yunxiao's eyes suddenly lit up. He finally understood why the dark beauty calling herself Best had given him such a strange feeling. Tisk, tisk, I never thought there were actually people in this world who could gather and wield the power of faith. However, the price you paid must have been hefty. Although Wang Yunxiao had never encountered the power of faith, he knew a great deal about it. He marveled at it and immediately exposed Best's true intentions. Disrespectful. Wang Yunxiao, if you lead your men back immediately, I will not pursue your actions today, Best barked, then sternly rebuked him. All right, Stop pretending. After all, you're just an ordinary person who's managed to gather and wield the power of faith. Do you really think you're a god? Wang Yunxiao curled his lips in disdain, mocking him with a half-smile. You, Best was furious, his energy surging, and an even more powerful invisible pressure descended upon Wang Yunxiao. What? Are you angry because I hit the mark? It's useless. Now that we know your strengths and weaknesses, you won't have any chance anymore. Wang Yunxiao was calm and composed, as if he had already won. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 186 The Difficult Power of Faith? Let me guess. What's the price you'll have to pay? Wang Yunxiao said jokingly, completely ignoring Best's furious glare and even her intimidating presence. Eternal solitude, right? Although you've been granted eternal life, to continuously draw upon the power of faith you rely on, you must maintain a certain air of secrecy and avoid excessive contact with anyone. The loneliness of being the only one left in the world must be incredibly difficult, right? Wang Yunxiao speculated, watching every expression on Best's face. Best's subsequent reaction, though subtle, caught Wang Yunxiao's keen eye and further confirmed his suspicions. Ultimately, Best was simply too naive, a reflection of her limited experience and limited social interactions. But you can't bring yourself to end this eternal solitude. After all, a good death is worse than a miserable life. How? Wang Yunxiao sneered, his lips curling slightly. You, Best's eyes were filled with rage, but more than that, they gave off a sense of irritation, a true reflection of her current mood. Don't rush to refute me. Just listen to me first. What if I tell you I can help you solve all this? Wang Yunxiao changed the subject, his tone softening. Best remained silent. Though her eyes were filled with suspicion, the glimmer of hope hidden deeper within could not escape Wang Yunxiao's gaze. Why? Don't you believe me? Wang Yunxiao asked with a smile, looking at Best with sincerity. Why should I believe you? Seeing that Wang Yunxiao was not being sly, Best finally broke her silence and asked instead of answering. What good would it do me to lie to you? Perhaps I don't have much of a solution for you, who possess the power of faith, but equally, you can't pose any threat to me. If you don't believe me, you can try, Wang Yunxiao said confidently with a calm smile. Okay. Unexpectedly, Best acted out of the ordinary. Even as she spoke, she leaped in front of Wang Yunxiao and punched him in the face. Fortunately, Wang Yunxiao's reaction was quick, and she dodged, leaving Best's surprise attack behind. Perhaps due to being on the altar, Best's speed was even faster than Wang Yunxiao's, and she was hot on her heels. Wang Yunxiao, unwilling to risk a direct confrontation with the power of faith, dodged Best's attack again. The two of them fought back and forth, each unable to defeat the other. Is all you can do about running away? How can I trust you? Best, increasingly impatient with her pursuit, shouted. Sister, I'm not asking you to trust me. Believe it or not, Wang Yunxiao wanted to retort, but the best thing would be to eliminate Best, this troublesome person, without bloodshed. So he held back. More importantly, judging by Best's demeanor, if he couldn't convince her completely, there would be no further negotiation. He had no choice but to change his mind and confront her head-on. Bang! With a dull thud, Wang Yunxiao's fists collided with Best's. The next moment, Wang Yunxiao felt a strange energy surge through his arm and into his body, surging through him. He couldn't help but groan and retreat backward. It must be the power of faith. Looking at Best again, her figure shifted from solid to intangible, twisting violently before returning to solid again. She appeared unfazed and pursued Wang Yunxiao once more. A flicker of fury flashed in Wang Yunxiao's eyes. Although the power of faith was causing him discomfort, he had no room to retreat now. Otherwise, it would seem as if he was afraid of Best, which would undoubtedly hinder the subsequent negotiations. Bang, 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 accompanied by a series of dull, resounding explosions, Wang Yunxiao and Best clashed fiercely, leaving countless afterimages of both on the altar. However, Wang Yunxiao hadn't expected Best to stop first. It seemed that Best wasn't as unscathed as she appeared in that brief exchange. She was also in pain, just more deeply hidden. However, despite the brief encounter, Wang Yunxiao's inner power of faith had already accumulated considerably, causing him to feel a surge of discomfort. However, despite his seemingly convincing explanations to Best, his understanding of the power of faith was still superficial, leaving him without a clear solution. He hoped the upcoming negotiations would go smoothly, otherwise Wang Yunxiao would be in for a real treat. One thing he was certain of, the power of faith would dissipate over time, but he wondered how long that would take. So? Are you finally convinced by what I say? You pose no threat to me at all. Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, his expression expressionless. Yes. But, as it turns out, you pose no threat to me either, Best retorted expressionlessly, refusing to give in. Is that truly so? Given the current situation, even if you expend a vast amount of your faith, you won't be able to prevent Wakanda's destruction. And as far as I know, if you cut off the source of Wakanda's faith in you, you will perish over time, Wang Yunxiao sneered. As for how to sever the source of faith, Wang Yunxiao would have 1,000 ways to do so if he completely controlled Wakanda. Best was well aware of this. How dare you? Upon hearing Wang Yunxiao's words, Best's composure was undeniable. Murderous intent flared in his eyes, ready for a desperate fight. Don't be nervous. I told you, I can solve your problem, but I need you to help me control all of Wakanda, Wang Yunxiao said gently, his expression filled with earnestness. How can I believe that you won't turn your back on me afterwards? Best sneered. Although she was simple, it didn't mean she was stupid. As for the wishes of the people of Wakanda, compared with her own safety, they were no longer within her consideration. It's very simple. I can solve your problem first. Wang Yunxiao was obviously prepared for this and replied with a smile. Aren't you afraid that I will turn my back on you? Hearing this, Best looked at Wang Yunxiao with suspicion. By that time, even if you want to regret it, it will be impossible. Hearing Best's question, Wang Yunxiao smiled. He knew that this matter was almost certain. What do you mean? Best immediately became alert, and the suspicion in his eyes became heavier. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 187 Best's Choice. Believe me, this won't do you any harm. And if I really wanted to harm you, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble, right? Wang Yunxiao looked directly at Best and spoke sincerely. Best remained silent, a flicker of struggle in his eyes, and he was clearly still hesitant. Honestly, Best, you don't really have a choice. Wakanda is completely unable to resist my invasion, and the initiative has always been in my hands. Although Wang Yunxiao's tone was still gentle, he had already forced Best into a corner. Then why are you still doing this? Best asked with a frown. She was naturally well aware of this situation, which was also one of the reasons for her hesitation. She knew very well that showing kindness without any reason is either a traitor or a thief. Because you are beautiful. I don't want a beauty like you to hold a grudge against me. Wang Yunxiao made no secret of his prying eyes, and his eyes became fiery. Another unspeakable silence fell, and a blush quickly crossed Best's face, adding a unique touch of allure to her already sensual and charming appearance. Well, she was still innocent after all. Perhaps after countless years of loneliness, she had forgotten the taste of love. Wang Yunxiao stopped urging her, simply looking at Best with quiet admiration, but there was no lack of undisguised passion in her gaze. Best replied softly after an inaudible pause. Perhaps it had something to do with the unbearable intensity of Wang Yunxiao's gaze. Okay, feeling the invisible pressure slowly dissipate, Wang Yunxiao smiled happily and slowly approached Best. In a few breaths, she was in front of Best. Don't worry, it will pass soon, and you won't feel any pain. Seeing the fleeting look in Best's eyes, Wang Yunxiao spoke in a gentle voice, his soft words ringing in her ears. The next moment, Best felt a pain in his neck. His large, black and white eyes widened, but then they relaxed, becoming somewhat dazed, as if he were enjoying and reveling in the experience. Wang Yunxiao felt the same way. Although the energy in Best's blood could no longer nourish his zombie bloodline, the feeling was undeniably exhilarating. In particular, the power of faith within Wang Yunxiao, drawn in by Best's blood, became tamer, emanating a warm feeling. This not only freed him from the torment of faith but also gave him a unique and novel experience. Roar, with the infusion of Wang Yunxiao's zombie blood, Best's delicate body shook violently, roaring uncontrollably to the heavens. Sharp zombie fangs protruded, her black and white eyes transformed into a pair of gray-brown pupils, and her aura surged forth with even greater force. But by this point, it no longer had any effect on Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao smiled faintly, her hands still twitching as she immediately retrieved the blood of numerous mutants, all at least beta level, from her personal space. She placed it all before Best, using it as nourishment for her ascension. Best, already knowing much from her inherited bloodline memories, drank in each one without hesitation, showing no repulsion. Having lived in solitude for so long, she no longer considered herself an ordinary human. Roar! A hearty roar erupted from Best's final, unbridled despair, resounding throughout the skies above Wakanda. The shadow of the Black Panther in the sky solidified even more. Meanwhile, as Best's gray-brown eyes gradually transformed into an amber yellow, her aura intensified. A faint, yet visible, yellow glow permeated the entire altar, drawing it in like a whale. This yellow glow was the power of faith accumulated by the altar over nearly 1,000 years. After the altar's power of faith was completely consumed, Best's ascension to the third generation of zombies was complete. However, her aura no longer manifested itself, instead being completely contained within her body. It seemed that after ascending to the third generation, she had gained considerable control over her own powers, including the power of faith. Best stared at Wang Yunxiao, her eyes flickering with a strangeness, her thoughts unclear. Wang Yunxiao wasn't surprised by this. Anyone experiencing such a sudden change, especially one caught off guard, would likely react in this way. However, Wang Yunxiao had underestimated Best's unpredictable behavior. She suddenly took a step forward, appearing in front of Wang Yunxiao and engaging him in a passionate kiss. Wang Yunxiao was startled, not only by Best's intense passion, but also by the clear feeling of his power of faith flowing back into her body through their passionate kiss. But soon, Wang Yunxiao completely abandoned everything else and passionately kissed Best, losing himself in the moment. Chuckles. Just as Wang Yunxiao was about to take another step, Best pushed her away. Seeing the gloom on Wang Yunxiao's face, she giggled even more, a sly glint in her eyes. However, the stark contrast between Best's before and after expressions made it clear she was truly delighted, evidently having gained a great deal from her transformation into a zombie. Wang Yunxiao couldn't quite grasp Best's transformation into a zombie, as the power of faith was undoubtedly more mysterious than any other supernatural ability. He was certain of one thing: Best was no longer restricted by the power of faith, no longer bound to this world, and could enjoy eternal life. "How do you feel?" Wang Yunxiao asked softly, recovering from the discomfort. "Very good. I never thought this world could hold such magical things. If I had met you sooner, I wouldn't have been trapped here for so long." Best's joy was mixed with regret. After Best's narration, Wang Yunxiao clearly understood that Best's strength had indeed increased tremendously, but it was mainly manifested in the aspects of body, five senses, self-healing, regeneration, etc. In other aspects, it is not known whether it was limited by the power of faith. Best did not gain any supernatural abilities. Or perhaps, the power of faith itself is a kind of supernatural ability? As for the power of faith, although Best has not increased, and it is impossible to increase it, she has become more comfortable in controlling it, just like when she took back the power of faith in Wang Yunxiao's body just now, which she could not do before. Moreover, Best no longer needs to be trapped in the altar. No matter where she is, she can freely absorb the power of faith of her believers. Thank you King Wu for the guaranteed monthly ticket. 3 more updates are here. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 188, Brutal Battle. After being transformed into a zombie, Best's strength undoubtedly increased tremendously. However, Wang Yunxiao regretted that her potential wasn't great, comparable to that of Rain and Clarice. Logically, the power of faith was mysterious, a power wielded only by the legendary gods. Best's potential shouldn't be that high. Perhaps some unknown change occurred after Best's transformation into a zombie, limiting her potential. Or perhaps she simply gained the power of faith through chance, but could only rudimentarily utilize it. Wang Yunxiao couldn't tell which was which, so he suppressed his regret and kept it to himself. Regardless, Best's joining would solve Wakanda's problems, freeing Wang Yunxiao from worrying about whether Zenda and the others would surrender. The battle over there should be over. We should go check it out. Wang Yunxiao smiled, not forgetting his ultimate goal. He took Best's hand and walked side by side towards the battlefield in the Paradise Wilderness. "What are you going to do next?" Best asked nervously. She still had some feelings for the people of Wakanda. After all, they had believed in her for nearly 1,000 years. "Don't worry, as long as they submit to me, not only will I not harm them, I'll let them live freely on this land as before," Wang Yunxiao replied with a smile. "I'm afraid that's difficult. You know, no one will take kindly to invaders. Especially since the people of Wakanda are simple-minded, yet also very stubborn. Best shook his head slightly, not entirely optimistic about Wang Yunxiao's assumptions. Don't we still have you? As the Black Panther god they believe in, I need you to appease them. Wang Yunxiao gave Best a deep look. That's impossible. I know them. They believe in me, but if I did something like that, they definitely hate me too. Besides, not all of the 6 tribes believe in me. Before Wang Yunxiao could finish, Best interrupted with a wry smile. Submission or destruction. As losers, they can only choose one. A cold murderous intent flashed in Wang Yunxiao's eyes. He never liked people who were soft-hearted, and he didn't mind killing people to achieve his goals. Best opened his mouth, as if wanting to persuade Wang Yunxiao, but in the end he didn't say it, with a flicker of reluctance in his eyes. Don't worry too much, things may not be that bad. You just need to calm them down for a short period of time, and leave the rest to me. Whether they are sincere or not, I just need some time to let them live in peace. Unable to bear seeing Best so entangled, Wang Yunxiao persuaded him softly. Yes, I will do my best. Best nodded firmly, his expression unusually determined. As they spoke, the 2 men arrived at the Paradise Wilderness. By then, the war was long over. Nearly all of Wakanda's tens of thousands of warriors had been annihilated, with few remaining. Zenda, Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka also lay silent and lifeless in the wilderness, each still breathing. Their Black Panther armor, however, remained intact, a testament to the supersuit crafted from vibranium. Wang Yunxiao's side had also suffered heavy losses. Nearly half of the over 1,000 mutants were wounded, though their lives were not in danger. Nearly half of the remaining Special Forces soldiers were dead, and most of those remaining were also wounded. Fewer than 100 were still intact. Of the hundreds of sentinels, only a dozen remained intact. Ultimately, the ferocity of the battle was the fault of Best. Without her divine presence, the Black Panther god, the Wakanda warriors would not have fought to the bitter end. Compared to the near-total annihilation of the Wakandan army, Wang Yunxiao's losses seemed heavy, but in reality, they were within Wang Yunxiao's acceptable range. In particular, the fact that no mutants were killed was a source of immense relief for him and Emma. As for the heavy casualties among the Special Forces and the near-complete destruction of the Sentinels, those were even less of a concern. With a new super soldier serum, they could easily be reassembled, it would just take some time to train them. The latter was simply a loss of resources and money. Not to mention that it wouldn't be a big deal for Umbrella, even if the losses were 100, or even 1,000 times greater. Given the capture of Wakanda, what would it matter? Seeing Wang Yunxiao's safe return, the women immediately gathered around him, but they didn't show the expected concern. Instead, they kept glancing at Wang Yunxiao and Best. The chilling coldness in their eyes, especially when they looked at Wang Yunxiao, almost made him shiver. Come to think of it, the women were fighting for him while Wang Yunxiao was flirting with other girls. No matter how good-tempered they were, they couldn't just pretend nothing had happened. Besides, none of them were known for their tempers. Let me introduce you. She's Best, the Black Panther god of Wakanda. Seeing that things weren't going well, Wang Yunxiao quickly explained the whole story. The women's attention was successfully diverted, and they focused more on Best, looking at her with wonder. They had only heard of Faith, a mysterious power that was said to be possessed only by gods, and had never actually seen it. While Wang Yunxiao breathed a sigh of relief, he wasn't too optimistic. Knowing the women, he knew they wouldn't be able to figure it out so easily, and he would have to suffer the consequences. Isn't it always like this? What should we do next? Fortunately, the women hadn't forgotten their business and quickly turned their attention back to Wang Yunxiao. Ada Wang then spoke up. Emma, Lane, you need to lead the remaining special agents back to New York as soon as possible and take charge of Umbrella Corporation to avoid attracting outside attention. Wang Yunxiao paused for a moment before addressing Ada Wang and Lane first. No problem, the two women exchanged glances and nodded in agreement, agreeing with Wang Yunxiao's plan. As for the Hellfire Club, Selene, you'll need to go back as well. But after you've made arrangements there, return as soon as possible. Wakanda won't be able to do without you. Wang Yunxiao turned his gaze to Selene again. Will it take a long time? Selene frowned slightly. Yes. At least until Wakanda is completely calmed down, Wang Yunxiao said cautiously. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 189, Taking Control of Wakanda, Part 1. In that case, someone will need to take charge of the club as well. As Selene spoke, Her gaze shifted to Selena. Wang Yunxiao hadn't mentioned Emma, clearly indicating that Wakanda also needed her. Clarice was too immature, leaving Selena as the most suitable candidate. What's your opinion? Wang Yunxiao turned to Selena, seeking her advice. No problem, Selena readily agreed. Okay, then, you and Selena will return together and quickly familiarize yourself with the club's operations. Wang Yunxiao smiled and nodded, and the matter was settled. After further discussions, the group discussed further arrangements. Aida Wang, Lane, Selene, and Selena returned to the Umbrella Industrial Park through the portal opened by Clarice. They were joined by the remaining special forces, over 100 mutants, and Charles and the other two. The former were returning to recuperate and would return soon, while the latter were no longer needed here and would rather continue their research. Although Wang Yunxiao had intended to move their laboratories to Wakanda, making it their future headquarters, it was clearly inappropriate now. He would have to wait until he had complete control of Wakanda. With the departure of the others, only Wang Yunxiao, Emma, Clarice, and Best remained in the wilderness, along with a dozen or so sentinel robots. It seemed this was insufficient to suppress the entirety of Wakanda. While the vast majority of Wakanda's warriors had perished in the battle, that didn't mean the remaining Wakandans were entirely elderly, weak, or sick. There were certainly still a significant number of civilians capable of fighting. Even with the reassurance of Best, the Black Panther god, there was no guarantee that rebellion would not arise. However, Wang Yunxiao was prepared for this situation. With a wave of his hand, 1,000 older sentinel robots were neatly arranged across the wilderness. These bulky machines, while of modest strength, looked intimidating enough. Furthermore, the people of Wakanda were unaware of their true capabilities. Boom! As Wang Yunxiao issued his command, 1,000 old model sentinel robots, led by a dozen or so newer ones, marched with heavy steps into action. Half of the sentinels headed straight for Wakanda City. They would first occupy the research center, the heart-shaped grass base, and the vibranium mine, 3 locations Wang Yunxiao valued most. Afterward, the entire city would be placed under martial law. The remaining half would be dispatched to the entrances and exits of Wakanda's borders, prohibiting anyone from entering or leaving to prevent a leak of information. The final quarter would be deployed to the gathering places of the 5 major tribes, the mountain, border, riverside, mining, and trade. The mountain and border tribes, known for their prolific warrior populations, were naturally the focus of attention. Wang Yunxiao, accompanied by his 3 daughters, arrived at the central palace to suppress the entire Wakandan royal family, preventing them from secretly colluding with the 5 major tribes. That was all that followed. At least, for the next 3 days, Wang Yunxiao forbade any further action. He intentionally left the Wakandans hanging for 3 days, causing them to experience constant fear and strain their mental resilience, which would greatly facilitate their subsequent annexation. Furthermore, he believed that with this 3-day buffer, not only would the hundreds of mutants recover and return, thus strengthening Wang Yunxiao's manpower, but Selene would also be able to temporarily hand over the affairs of the Hellfire Club to Selene and return home with peace of mind. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, but for the ever-fearing Wakandans, it felt like 3 years, or even longer. However, contrary to Wang Yunxiao's expectations, while the hundreds of mutants recovered and returned, Selene encountered a minor incident and did not return as planned. While Wang Yunxiao was puzzled, he wasn't overly concerned. Unless the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, intervened personally, no one on Earth could threaten Selene and Selene. Moreover, they had Ada Wong and Rain in New York to support them. Although Selene was unsure of the reason for her delay, it wouldn't affect Wang Yunxiao's subsequent plans and actions, as long as she didn't delay too long. Over the next few days, Wang Yunxiao, accompanied by the 3 women and the hundreds of thousands of people who had returned, made a grand visit to each of the 5 major tribes. Their goal was self-evident, to subjugate them. Once the 5 tribes were successfully subdued, the remaining Wakanda royal family, and even the vast majority of the city's inhabitants, would have no choice. Looking at the faces that ranged from numbness to panic, fear to hatred, Wang Yunxiao remained calm. He stood solemnly in the center of the crowd, waiting for Best, their Black Panther god, to intervene and persuade them. My people who believe in me, suffering and disaster are about to pass, and a bright new future awaits you, Best's passionate words rang out. The shadow of the Black Panther hovering above her instantly captured the attention of everyone present, their eyes filled with hope, anticipation, and fervor. Devout believers even knelt deeply, offering their deepest faith. At this moment, whether they believed in the Black Panther god or not, they were grasping at straws. They fervently hoped for redemption, for escape from the despair that seemed to see no light. Submit to Wang Yunxiao, the new king I recognize. Offer your loyalty, and you will be reborn, able to live more freely and happily on this land. However, Best's next words plunged some present into a deep abyss of despair. Glancing deeply at the numbness, despair, and dead silence that filled the faces before her, Best sighed softly and silently left with Wang Yunxiao and the others. As Wang Yunxiao had said, they were left with only two choices, surrender or destruction. Of the 5 tribes, the riverine, mining, and trading tribes reacted most calmly to Wang Yunxiao's arrival. This wasn't the kind of calmness that terrified them, but more like the numbness of despair, born of complete resignation. The border tribe, the cradle of Wakanda's warriors, was extremely repulsive, but didn't do anything irrational. Only the barbaric mountain tribe steadfastly resisted, even refusing to allow Wang Yunxiao and his party to enter their tribal gathering place. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 William Stryker. Wang Yunxiao, facing the mountain tribe's resolute defiance, immediately issued a brutal order for extermination. He showed no mercy to the untamed mountain tribe. He knew full well that the mountain tribe, inherently savage, would defy even the Wakanda royal family. Why would he burden himself with this burden? Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao lacked a target to establish his authority. Often, especially in situations like this, killing a chicken to scare the monkeys is the most effective tactic, albeit an extremely cruel one. The next moment, without hesitation, over 100 mutants, along with over 100 sentinel robots, stormed the mountain tribe's gathering place, unleashing a ruthless and bloody slaughter. Devils, you are all devils. Under the light of the ape god, the warriors of the ape tribe will never surrender. The people of the mountain tribe rose in resistance, but it was futile. Most of their bravest warriors had already perished in the battle 3 days prior. How could they possibly stir up any trouble? The bloody, brutal massacre lasted all morning. Only a handful of the mountain tribe survived, and those were those who had escaped deep into the snowy mountains and escaped detection. Their fate now lay to wait for death. All exits from Wakanda were guarded by sentry robots, and Wang Yunxiao would not give up his relentless hunt for them. Granted, it wouldn't take that long to wipe out a mountain tribe. However, many of them had already fled deep into the snowy mountains, and the hunt for them wasted considerable time. Not only the mountain tribe, but also many members of the 5 major tribes, having received advance warning long before the sentinel robots surrounded the gathering places of the 5 major tribes, had already fled deep into the mountains and forests. The mountain tribe, known for its barbaric nature, was the smallest in number. Naturally, Wang Yunxiao would not ignore this situation. He immediately issued a notice to the remaining 4 tribes, giving them a 3-day deadline to return to their respective tribes. After 3 days, all those captured outside the cities and the 4 major tribal gathering places were to be killed on the spot. This bloody announcement, along with the even more brutal news of the genocide of the mountain tribe, reached every Wakanda citizen, and the shock and pressure it brought to them can be imagined. For the next 3 days, apart from the relentless search and capture of the few remaining mountain tribe members, Wang Yunxiao took no action, leaving them stranded for another 3 days. 3 days later, Selene finally arrived. The reason she'd been delayed for so long was that someone, perhaps blind enough to attack the Hellfire Club, was perhaps taking a wrong turn. Who in the American upper class didn't know that Wang Yunxiao was the mastermind behind the Hellfire Club? Of course, the attackers weren't just ordinary people, but a strike team composed entirely of mutants. They included James Wolverine Howlett, Victor Sabretooth Howlett, Wade Deadpool Wilson, John Ghost Voorhees, Bradley Thunderman, Fred Spot, and David Agent Zero. While the strongest among them were only beta-level mutants, their combined destructive power was considerable. Combined with their well-prepared intelligence and impeccable timing, they caught Selene completely off guard. Had Selene not arrived in time, Selene might have fallen prey to their attack. Afterward, Facing the two women, especially the enraged Selene, they retreated calmly, often unscathed. After hearing Selene's story, a name immediately popped into Wang Yunxiao's mind: William Stryker. Another lunatic, hell-bent on using mutants to create the ultimate weapon. William Stryker, that's the man behind this. Sure enough, Selene confirmed his suspicions. Her tone was calm, but the shock, rage, and murderous intent etched in her eyes could not be concealed. Even Selene herself couldn't remember how many years it had been since she'd suffered such a heavy loss. If matters in Wakanda weren't more pressing, how could she let it go so easily? And dealing with Stryker wouldn't be a difficult task for Selene. As one of the organizers of the Hellfire Club, the Black Queen was no match for a mere U.S. Army colonel. He's an utterly insane person. I think he's acting on his own, targeting you, the oldest mutant in existence. Wang Yunxiao nodded in understanding. Not only had he accurately determined that Stryker was acting on his own, but he had also directly revealed his true motive. Wang Yunxiao had another theory, which he didn't mention. Stryker's family might have suffered a devastating tragedy, otherwise, he wouldn't have been so mad as to dare challenge the Hellfire Club. Perhaps it was karma itself. Stryker, obsessed with using mutants to create the ultimate weapon, had no idea his son Jason was also a mutant, one with alpha-level potential. This was unacceptable to Stryker, who even went so far as to seek out Professor X's academy, hoping to cure Jason. He was told, however, that it wasn't a disease, that there was no cure, and that there was no need for one. It's worth noting that Professor X had reopened the X school a year earlier, bringing back all the male faculty and students who had survived the Vietnam War, as well as the female faculty and students who had been deported, and recruiting a significant number of new mutants. Conversely, Magneto, who had been in a lifelong love-hate relationship with Professor X, had disappeared since his prison break, his whereabouts unknown. Stryker, equally unacceptable to Professor X's answers, stormed off with Jason and imprisoned him at his home. Even a tiger wouldn't eat its own cubs, and Stryker ultimately didn't use him for his experiments. However, his rare act of mercy would lead to horrific consequences for his family. Over the next year, driven by his anger towards Stryker, Jason used his powers to torture his mother, Stryker's wife, by inflicting horrific hallucinations in her mind, ultimately forcing her to commit suicide by shooting herself in the left temple with a nail gun. After this, Stryker, furious, imprisoned Jason in the cryogenic prison at 3 Mile Island. Thanks to King Wu for the guaranteed monthly pass. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 191, Taking Control of Wakanda, Part 2. Interesting. Really interesting. Looks like I should have a proper meeting with him after this is over. Hearing this, Selene's furious laughter deepened, her hatred for Stryker completely ignoring her. Ultimately, time was short. Selene only had enough time to gather intelligence on the mutant strike team members and identify Stryker as the mastermind. Otherwise, why would Wang Yunxiao have needed to remind her of their true purpose? It's not that simple. That guy is incredibly cunning. He's definitely hiding somewhere deep in the mountains right now. How could he just sit there and wait for you to find him? Wang Yunxiao shook his head slightly, unsure of Selene's ability to find Stryker. Really, Selene remained non-committal. But I believe, no matter how cunning that guy is, you can find him. Am I correct? Then, as if realizing something, Selene looked at Wang Yunxiao with a half-smile. Of course. Don't worry, I'll definitely take you with me then, Wang Yunxiao smiled. If he remembered correctly, the main storyline of Wolverine would take place a year later, in 1979. With Selene's return, Wang Yunxiao's subsequent plan could finally begin. He would completely subjugate the remaining 4 tribes, even the royal family and civilians in the city, and ultimately control all of Wakanda. Wang Yunxiao's plan was simple, relying on Selene's psychological suggestion and Emma's telepathy to forcibly gain the loyalty and support of the Wakandan people. To this end, Wang Yunxiao even brought 2 of the latest brainwave amplifiers to Wakanda. One was naturally the original one, further modified and improved by Bolivar. The other was specifically designed based on Selene's psychological suggestion ability. Its function was simple, but very practical, to amplify the effects of psychological suggestions. However, the range of this brainwave amplifier was not very large, far inferior to the original one. Ultimately, this was due to the fundamental difference between the 2 abilities. This necessitates that, To maximize the effectiveness of this brainwave amplifier, the people of Wakanda must first be gathered within a certain radius. Gaining their submission, even superficially, would greatly facilitate Wang Yunxiao's subsequent actions. Notably, over the past 3 days, the merchant tribe has proactively submitted to Wang Yunxiao. This is not surprising, not only due to the shock of the massacre of the mountain tribe, but also fundamentally because they are composed of merchants and artisans, responsible for all of Wakanda's trade. With increased exposure to the outside world, their thoughts naturally become more complex, making it difficult to maintain their original simplicity. To put it bluntly, as their name suggests, the merchant tribe, like most merchants, prioritizes profit. As long as it protects their own interests, they don't mind a change in ruler. Therefore, Wang Yunxiao naturally targeted the traders as his first target. Since they had already given up on opposing Wang Yunxiao, Selene secured their initial loyalty and support in less than a week. From there, Selene simply needed to reinforce the effect of her psychological suggestion, coupled with Emma's telepathic connection, and the traders would be hard to escape Wang Yunxiao's control. This was undoubtedly a very successful start. While taming the traders, Wang Yunxiao continued to coerce and bribe the other 3 tribes. The riverside and mining tribes were the first to give in. To survive, they were forced to surrender to Wang Yunxiao. Since being confined to their tribal gathering place, the riverside tribe had fared better. Living by the water, they relied on fishing and farming, protecting Wakanda's longest river, the Amis, which provided them with abundant resources. However, the situation was completely different for the mining tribes, who lived near the mines and were responsible for cultivating Wakanda's various mineral deposits, including vibranium. Wang Yunxiao had cut off their communication with the other major tribes and even the city, making even basic survival difficult. Precisely because of their disparate circumstances, their submission differed fundamentally. The mining tribes surrendered out of necessity, driven by necessity. While they felt a certain degree of resentment, they harbored no ulterior motives. The river tribe, on the other hand, simply feigned submission before seeking alternatives. Naturally, Emma's telepathic understanding of the river tribe's subtle motives was impossible to conceal. However, Wang Yunxiao did not expose them. Instead, he exploited their sentiments to persuade the still struggling border tribe. The result was self-evident. The border tribe were quickly persuaded by the river tribe and feigned submission to Wang Yunxiao. Unbeknownst to them, this was exactly what Wang Yunxiao desired: superficial cooperation. The rest of the process was simple. Wang Yunxiao simply gathered the 4 major tribes together and handed them over to Selene and Emma. Wang Yunxiao also gathered the traders so that they could personally influence the other 3 tribes, which would also facilitate Selene and Emma's efforts. So far, the results have been very positive. After a week, the mining tribe's resistance to Wang Yunxiao had eased, and the riverside and border tribes' resentment had also diminished significantly. 2 weeks later, the mining tribe, like the traders, had shown initial loyalty and support, and the remaining resistance from the riverside and border tribes had almost completely dissipated. After a month, all 4 tribes had begun to come around, completely freeing Wang Yunxiao from further worries. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao also pursued those diehards still hiding in the mountains and forests, or those who harbored a desire for a better future. The sentinel robots liberated from the gathering places of the 4 tribes, along with over 100 mutants, meticulously searched every inch of Wakanda. All those caught were mercilessly killed on the spot, eliminating any remaining worries. Only the Wakandan royal family and civilians remained in the city. For over a month, the city had been under martial law, with neither entry nor exit allowed, leaving the Wakandans living in constant fear. Now, Wang Yunxiao has finally turned his attention back to the city's residents. While a significant number of them are from the Wakandan royal family, the majority are from the 4 tribes. With the role models of the 4 tribes as their role models, taming them is a piece of cake. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 192 Return to New York. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a year had already passed. Unnoticed, it was already 1979. Thanks to Selene and Emma's tireless efforts, Wang Yunxiao had secured the loyalty and support of the vast majority of Wakanda citizens, completely wielding control over Earth's most technologically advanced nation. The only real blemish was the continued resistance of Zenda, Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka, 4 previous Black Panthers. Perhaps due to their experience with a heart-shaped herb, they were highly resistant to Seleni's psychic influences. Wang Yunxiao's insistence on subjugating these four was certainly not driven by their Black Panther status. With a heart-shaped herb and vibranium, he could easily craft a batch of these whenever he wished. Rather than focusing on these four individuals, it was more likely that Wang Yunxiao valued their descendants, or more accurately, T'Chaka's descendants. Of course, it wasn't T'Challa, the future Avenger superhero known as Black Panther, but his sister, Princess Shuri, the future master of the Wakanda Research Center, possessing the Marvel Universe's most brilliant mind and a formidable scientist on par with Charles and the other two. As for the Zenda 4's stubborn resistance, Wang Yunxiao wasn't worried. He had already assigned Best to collaborate with Charles on researching the Heartgris, and he believed results would be forthcoming. By then, they would no longer have the capital to resist. Of course, Charles's research on the Heartgris wasn't solely aimed at taming the Zenda 4. It was primarily aimed at incorporating its medicinal properties into the new super soldier serum. In Wang Yunxiao's view, besides the precious vibranium, Wakanda's only remaining treasure was the Heartgris, which granted superhuman speed, endurance, strength, and agility. Therefore, Charles also had a crucial task, finding a way to expand the cultivation of the Heartgris. Furthermore, until Charles develops the third-generation super soldier serum, Wang Yunxiao doesn't even plan to replenish Umbrella's special forces, aiming to maintain a force of just over 500. With the addition of reserve soldiers, this will be sufficient to protect Umbrella. Wang Yunxiao has absolute confidence in Charles. Combined with the efficacy of the heart-shaped herb, the third-generation super soldier serum will undoubtedly be successfully developed. Months ago, in addition to Charles, Bolivar and Arnim also moved their laboratories into Wakanda's research center. Accompanying them was the artificial intelligence White Queen, who took full control of Wakanda's defenses. As for Umbrella, only Red Queen remained. She also had to manage the Hellfire Club, but she was capable of handling any situation. This would remain true even in a technologically advanced future. The two have clear research directions ahead. Bolivar will continue to study the mutant X gene, particularly Mystique's. Emma is now planning to build a mutant school larger than the X school, transforming Wakanda into a mutant paradise. This isn't impossible. With the combined support of Umbrella, the Hellfire Club, and Wakanda, the only concern is secrecy. With a thorough plan and covert action, it's entirely possible to avoid attracting the attention of other forces. The only remaining concerns are Professor X's telepathy and his brainwave amplifier. But there's no need to worry too much. Bolivar has a plan in mind. He's about to develop a device specifically designed to block telepathy, which will be incorporated into Wakanda's protective energy shield. This means that Wakanda will undoubtedly recruit a large number of mutants in the future. If Bolivar achieves a breakthrough, the strength of these mutants will rapidly increase, becoming another important force under Wang Yunxiao's command. Meanwhile, production of the new Sentinel robots will not be slowed down. According to Wang Yunxiao's request, at least 1,000 units must be produced to provide security for all of Wakanda. Arnim's research will focus on vibranium, exploring the possibility of creating a secondary alloy. Wang Yunxiao's ambition was to create a superpowered Black Panther squadron, all injected with third-generation super soldier serum and clad in Black Panther armor. While Wakanda possessed a vast supply of vibranium, it wasn't inexhaustible. Furthermore, using it solely to build armor for the Black Panthers would be excessively wasteful. Overall, while initially established, Wakanda had become a crucial component of Wang Yunxiao's power, serving as a sort of headquarters, concealed from view by no one except the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One. The Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club would become his visible forces. Furthermore, Wakanda's subsequent development could proceed step by step. Without Wang Yunxiao's personal presence, Emma and Best were sufficient. Thus, Wang Yunxiao returned to New York with Selene and Clarice. Given the level of attention he was currently receiving, his extended absence would inevitably arouse suspicion. For the past 6 months, Wang Yunxiao has been returning to New York periodically, occasionally appearing in public to avoid being traced back to Wakanda, though the likelihood of this happening is extremely low. Another crucial reason for Wang Yunxiao's eagerness to return to New York is the intelligence relayed by Lane and Selene. The plot of Wolverine is about to begin. Not only does William Stryker possess the adamantium alloy that Wang Yunxiao values so much, and his son Jason also interests him, but he and Selene still have a long-standing score to settle. According to the intelligence provided by the two women, after the failed raid on the Hellfire Club 6 months ago, the mutant team was disbanded shortly after Stryker went into hiding. With the exception of Sabretooth and Agent Zero, who still work for Stryker, the rest of the mutant team has dispersed and is now living in seclusion around the world. Among them, Wang Yunxiao's old acquaintance, Wolverine, lives in seclusion on a Canadian forest farm, working as his lumberjack and raising a happy family. Unbeknownst to Wolverine, his beloved wife, Kara, is a secret dispatch from Stryker. Her full name is Emma Grace Frost, codenamed Silver Fox. Even more coincidentally, she is Emma's older sister, who ran away from home as a child. Kara's involvement with Stryker, and her orders to deliberately approach Wolverine, stems from the fact that she and Emma's younger sister fell into Stryker's hands. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 193 Weapon X Project. Silver Fox was utterly disinclined to sit idly by when Wang Yunxiao learned of her sister's fall at the hands of Stryker. After all, she was Emma's sister. However, Emma's relationship with the three sisters seemed strained. Upon learning of the incident, she simply asked Wang Yunxiao to do her utmost to protect her sisters, but showed no intention of rushing to the scene. As for why Stryker assigned Kara to James Howlett, known as Wolverine, he'd changed his name to Logan Howlett. It was because, after extensive observation and verification, he had determined that Logan was the perfect candidate for his Weapon X project. The so-called Weapon X project involved utilizing Logan's super healing and regenerative abilities to inject liquid adamantium into his body, transforming him into an indestructible super soldier with a metal skeleton. Admittedly, Stryker's plan was truly insane, but if he succeeded, Logan, even at the beta level, would be as powerful as an alpha-level mutant. Adamantium is known as the world's strongest, indestructible metal. While his brother, Sabretooth Victor Howlett, also possesses remarkable healing and regenerative abilities, he lacks Logan's unbreakable willpower and is extremely emotionally unstable, posing a significant risk of failure. After spending the better part of 6 months in hiding, Stryker finally unleashed his Weapon X plan. His first action was to order Victor to eliminate all the former Mutant Squad members scattered around the world to prevent any leaks. However, these individuals were completely unaware of his Weapon X plan. Stryker then personally traveled to Logan's secluded farm in Canada and, playing the sympathy card with Logan, blamed Victor for the deaths of the Mutant Squad members. He then asserted that Victor would seek him out and invite him to join him in stopping Victor's madness. Accustomed to his current peaceful life, surrounded by his beloved, Logan naturally refused to be persuaded by Stryker's persuasion and unceremoniously drove him away. He believed that although Victor was crazy and emotionally unstable, they were still brothers, and Victor would not kill him. Logan was right. Victor had never considered killing him, and he would not have done so even if Stryker had ordered him to do so. He had a special, almost pathological feeling for Logan. Could this be the so-called brother complex? However, just because Victor wouldn't kill Logan didn't mean he wouldn't kill Kara. In his mind, Kara was the one who had taken Logan from him, not to mention Stryker's order. Yes, Stryker's order. Seeing that he couldn't convince Logan, Stryker immediately began his subsequent plan, ordering Victor to kill Kara and destroy Logan's current life. Of course, all this was just a show for Logan's benefit. Otherwise, Wang Yunxiao, who had been watching the unfolding events, would never have allowed Kara to be killed. It's worth noting that when Victor approached Kara, he was hiding nearby, watching the show unfold. Logan, arriving soon after, was driven mad by the sight of his beloved's death before his very eyes, engaging in a fierce battle with Victor. Not to mention, the two brothers both possessed supersensory perception, super healing, and super regeneration abilities, as well as sharp bone claws and fingers. They were also extremely skilled in close combat, resulting in a bloody and violent fight, yet neither could defeat the other. Overall, however, Victor held the initiative. This was primarily due to Logan's comfortable life over the past 6 months, resulting in a lack of combat experience, and his fighting skills were inevitably rusty. This was evident in Victor's calm retreat. Watching his enemy retreat helplessly, Logan was deeply resentful and thus set out to track Victor. Seizing the opportunity, Stryker reapproached Logan, and after considerable persuasion, he finally persuaded him to join his Weapon X project. Secretly following the two to Stryker's secret base on 3 Mile Island and witnessing the birth of the true Wolverine, Wang Yunxiao was filled with admiration for Logan's iron willpower, persevering despite such agony. Imagine having boiling liquid adamantium injected into your body, melting, destroying, and replacing every bone in your body, even your skull. The pain is inhuman. Frankly, how many people in this world could endure that? Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao, while deeply disdainful of the outdated testing equipment, also deepened his admiration for Logan. Looking at the nearly rusted test equipment and the stained chamber, the fact that he could lie there without batting an eyelid tells one story of his remarkable mental fortitude. As the Weapon X project reached its final stages, Stryker's meticulous planning ultimately failed. Just as he was about to brainwash Logan, he was awakened and, fighting his way out of the secret base, successfully escaped. It's hilarious to think that Logan's escape, and even from 3 Mile Island, was largely due to Stryker's Weapon X project. With his indestructible adamantium skeleton, the damage dealt to Logan by those thermal weapons was negligible. Coupled with his extraordinary healing and regenerative abilities, he truly resembled an immortal warrior. Stryker was truly a ruthless man. Seeing things spiral out of control, he resolutely destroyed his painstakingly constructed Weapon X and mobilized every available resource to pursue Logan. However, he also believed that if he could create the first Weapon X, he could also create the second. It was precisely because Stryker was preoccupied with hunting Logan that Wang Yunxiao finally had his chance. While taking over this secret base wouldn't be too difficult with the forces at his disposal, Stryker was ultimately under orders from the US military, and such a move would create a significant disturbance. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao's target, adamantium, was a rare resource that would attract widespread attention and greed. Unless absolutely necessary, it was best to keep it a secret from anyone. Thanks to Z for the guaranteed monthly pass. 3 updates today. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 194 Carter and Leah. William Stryker mobilized all his forces to hunt down Wolverine Logan Howlett, even mobilizing a significant number of troops from the secret base at 3 Mile Island. No one knew better than him the destructive power and destructive potential of Logan, transformed into Weapon X. This greatly facilitated Wang Yunxiao's subsequent actions, allowing him to easily plunder the base's entire supply of liquid adamantium, along with any unrefined alloy ore, and even the specific adamantium refining method and formula for the secondary adamantium. Later, Wang Yunxiao sought out Carter Grace Frost, who was being secretly held in the base's cryogenic prison. "Who are you?" Carter looked warily at Wang Yunxiao, who suddenly appeared before her. "Don't worry, Emma sent someone to rescue you," Wang Yunxiao said softly. "Impossible. I haven't spoken to Emma in ages. She couldn't possibly know I was imprisoned here. Tell me. Who are you?" Carter interrupted brusquely before Wang Yunxiao could finish, his eyes lit with even greater alarm. "Are you, Logan, the one who came to rescue me? That's impossible. He thought I was dead, so there's no way he knew I was imprisoned here. Or are you, Stryker, a test for me? That must be it. Go back and tell him I won't disrupt his plans, and ask him not to hurt my sister." Without waiting for Wang Yunxiao to say anything, Carter began to ramble on again, perhaps driven mad by Stryker's manipulation. "Enough. Stryker has no right to assign me any responsibility. I already told you it was your sister Emma who asked me to rescue you. I'm Wang Yunxiao, your sister Emma's man." Wang Yunxiao was speechless, watching the already frantic Carter. A sharp shout interrupted her. "Wang Yunxiao." Carter paused, then realized the name sounded incredibly familiar. "God of War? Are you the God of War from World War II? The one who actually controlled the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club?" Then, Carter's eyes suddenly lit up, remembering where she'd heard that name before. She'd also heard about Stryker's raid on the Hellfire Club 6 months prior. It was through this incident that she'd learned some information about Wang Yunxiao. You know, Stryker was in a state of panic for a long time afterward, deeply regretting the raid. "Since you know me, it's easy. Come with me." Wang Yunxiao nodded slightly, her tone returning to a gentle tone. "But how could Emma know you? And become your woman?" Carter hesitated. Or perhaps, she couldn't believe her eccentric sister could actually become Wang Yunxiao's woman? "I'm the White Emperor of the Hellfire Club, and your sister is the White Queen. Do you understand that?" Wang Yunxiao said helplessly. "Oh, I get it. But could you please rescue my sister, too? She's being held here, Hearing Wang Yunxiao's words, Carter couldn't help but believe him and pleaded with Wang Yunxiao to rescue her sister. No problem, she's Emma's sister too, Wang Yunxiao readily agreed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Carter was overcome with emotion, tears welling up in her eyes. She had sacrificed so much to rescue her sister, even going so far as to deceive her lover. Indeed, after months of living together, she had truly fallen in love with Logan. I told you, she's Emma's sister too, so you don't have to be so polite. Wang Yunxiao smiled gently and politely offered a tissue. Thank you. Carter gratefully accepted the tissue. By the way, do you know where Stryker's son, Jason, is being held? Once Carter had calmed down a bit, Wang Yunxiao inquired about Jason, the man who had so intrigued him. I don't know. But I'm sure he's not being held here, Carter said, shaking her head without a second thought. Are you sure? Wang Yunxiao reassured. It wasn't that he distrusted Carter, but rather that this didn't align with his memory of the original plot. I'm sure, Carter nodded earnestly. Alright, forget it then. Let's go get your sister out first, and then get out of here as quickly as possible. Feeling slightly disappointed, Wang Yunxiao decided not to linger any longer, lest he cause any unnecessary trouble. As for Jason, the future master of imagination, that would have to wait until next time. Although Wang Yunxiao was very interested in him, there was no rush. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao had been hesitant about whether to take Jason with him on this trip. If he had done so, the plot of X-Men First Class might not have happened. It was because Stryker had Jason as his trump card that all these events unfolded. Could you also rescue the other mutants trapped here? Carter asked hesitantly. No. That would make too much noise, Wang Yunxiao refused without hesitation. What a joke. He'd endured for so long, precisely to avoid exposing himself. How could he possibly take unnecessary risks for someone irrelevant? More importantly, Wang Yunxiao knew that Professor X had likely already been keeping an eye on this place. If he truly rescued every mutant here, it would undoubtedly leave a significant flaw. But don't worry. Professor X already knows about the situation here, and given his character, he won't sit idly by. Seeing the sadness and reluctance in Carter's eyes, Wang Yunxiao thought for a moment before revealing the story about Professor X. Really, Carter's expression immediately brightened, and she confirmed with hope. As a member of the mutant community, she naturally knew about the renowned Professor X. Of course, there's no need to lie to you, Wang Yunxiao said, spreading her hands and smiling. Yes, I believe you. Let's go and get Leah out. Carter, her worries completely put aside, was already eager to rescue her sister. Leah Grace Frost, Emma and Carter's youngest sister, is also a mutant, but her abilities are somewhat less powerful than her sister's. Besides sharing the same diamond form, all three sisters can only discern the good or bad intentions of others through telepathy. Leah's psychic abilities aren't even comparable to Carter's, who, while requiring physical contact, can still sense a person's thoughts. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 195 Sisters Reunited. Sister, as Wang Yunxiao led Carter to a small, cryogenic cell, a short figure erupted in disbelief and threw itself into Carter's arms. It's okay, we'll be out of here soon. Carter gently stroked Leah's back, soothing her soft words, tears welling up once more. Wang Yunxiao remained silent, standing quietly by the side, not urging the sisters to hurry. Sister, you finally came to save me. After a long pause, the two sisters calmed down slightly, and Leah turned her curious gaze to Wang Yunxiao again. Let's get out of here first, Carter began to explain, but Wang Yunxiao's gaze stopped her, and she quickly stopped the words. While most of the cryogenic cells here were separate, they were closely adjacent, making for excellent soundproofing. Wang Yunxiao didn't want to reveal his identity. Yes, Leah nodded obediently, as if understanding. Wang Yunxiao remained silent, simply smiling and nodding at the two sisters before placing his hands on their shoulders. The next moment, the three figures vanished silently from the prison. In a dense forest far from the secret base on 3 Mile Island, Wang Yunxiao, Carter, and Yali suddenly reappeared, seemingly as if they had already been there. Wow! Sister, who is he? Yali couldn't help but exclaim, once again demanding Wang Yunxiao's identity. She was astonished that he had arrived here from the base's cryogenic prison in a matter of seconds. He's Emma's boyfriend, his name is. Carter also briefly introduced Wang Yunxiao to Yali, sharing the limited information she knew. Wow, Yali's mouth dropped open at Carter's introduction, and her eyes sparkled as she looked at Wang Yunxiao. She looked adorable, like a doll. How do we get out of here? Maybe they've already noticed Yali and I escaped, Carter said, a hint of worry. Don't worry, Wang Yunxiao smiled faintly and dialed a number. The next moment, a portal quietly appeared before the three of them, and a pretty figure emerged through it. It was none other than Clarice. Hello, I'm Clarice, and I'm also a mutant. Clarice, knowing the two sisters' identities, greeted them with a smile. Hello, I'm Carter, and this is my sister Leah. Carter quickly introduced herself and Ali to Clarice. Hello, sister. You're so beautiful. Are you also your brother-in-law's boyfriend? Ali asked, even more impulsively. Yes, it's not just Emma and me. Your brother-in-law has so many girlfriends. Clarice, in a playful and sly manner, rolled her eyes at Wang Yunxiao. Wow, that's impressive. I heard that the more outstanding a man is, the more girlfriends he has. So, your brother-in-law must be the most outstanding. Unexpectedly, Ali defied expectations. Instead of aligning with her sister Emma, she adored Wang Yunxiao even more, calling him brother-in-law with a familiar, almost familiar air. Little girl, haha, Wang Yunxiao laughed joyfully, gently stroking Leah's head. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. Look how proud you are. Are we going straight back to Wakanda? Clarice gave Wang Yunxiao another coquettish look before confirming. Of course, the sisters haven't been together for a long time, Wang Yunxiao said matter-of-factly. There was another reason he hadn't mentioned. It wasn't appropriate for the sisters to appear in public anytime soon, as it would inevitably arouse suspicion, which would completely defeat his original intention. Okay, Clarice nodded slightly. And without her making any movement, another portal appeared before them. Let's go. Wang Yunxiao picked up Leah and strode into the colorful portal. Seeing this, Kara hurriedly followed. Wow, it's really beautiful here. From the pavilion of the central palace, Leah couldn't help but exclaim in amazement as she took in the beautiful scene of Wakanda's high-tech and natural scenery. Brother-in-law, is this really your country? After exclaiming, Leah turned and ran back to Wang Yunxiao, repeatedly demanding. Yes, do you like it? You'll all be living here for the next while? Wang Yunxiao said with a smile, explaining his plans. Yes, I love it here. It's such a beautiful country. I'd be happy to live here forever, Leah said happily, her face beaming with joy, not a hint of reluctance. In her heart, compared to her cold, icy home in New York, this place was 1,000 times better. There was no need to worry about being captured and thrown into that cold prison again. Carter, standing nearby, heard this, her face still beaming, but a slight pause froze, her words still lingering. Logan won't be in danger, but it's not suitable for you to see him anytime soon. I hope you understand, Wang Yunxiao said apologetically, sensing what Carter was about to say. Despite this, he wouldn't change his mind, and he certainly wouldn't expose himself to unnecessary risk just because Carter was Emma's sister. Yes, I know, Carter muttered softly, his eyes gleaming with a complex mix of nostalgia, pain, and reminiscence. Leah, sensing something, stopped cheering and fell silent. Though curious about who Logan was, she sensibly refrained from questioning. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall grew dull and oppressive. Tap, tap, tap. Just then, the crisp sound of high heels clattering against the pavement echoed. It was Emma, who had hurried back, exhausted after receiving the news. She'd been so busy building the large mutant school she'd envisioned. Second sister, Leah greeted Emma timidly, looking a little afraid of her. Well, I'm sorry for putting you through this. From now on, just follow me and no one will bully you anymore, Emma said softly. Though not overly enthusiastic, her tone was thick with concern. And you, stay here from now on and stop running around, lest you hurt yourself and others. Emma wasn't so polite to Carter, speaking with a hint of meaning. I understand, Carter murmured, not objecting, and seemed a little afraid of her younger sister, Emma. It's fair to say that the relationship between these three sisters is truly strange. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 196, Ending, Part 1. After settling Carter and Leah in Wakanda, Wang Yunxiao also stayed behind to spend a few days with Emma and Bast. These two women were incredibly busy during this time, one responsible for managing Wakanda, the other preoccupied with building her dream of a mutant paradise. It wasn't until a call from Rain that Wang Yunxiao hurried back to New York. The call revealed that Wolverine Logan Howlett, after being repeatedly hunted by William Stryker, had finally fought back. More importantly, he had discovered that Stryker was the mastermind behind all this. After his pursuit of Logan proved fruitless, Stryker retreated to his secret base on 3 Mile Island. This wasn't a fear of Logan's retaliation, but rather the fact that Wang Yunxiao had emptied 3 Mile Island of everything related to adamantium, and the mysterious abduction of Carter and Leah had only heightened his suspicions. Stryker certainly suspected the Hellfire Club, but the feedback he received from all sides consistently confirmed that this incident had nothing to do with the Hellfire Club, or even Wang Yunxiao, the man behind it. Well, he still didn't know about Carter, Leah, and Emma's relationship. However, while Stryker could no longer care about Logan, Logan wouldn't let him go, especially after learning the truth. Logan had already begun tracking down 3 Mile Island. In his haste to escape, he fell into coma mid-flight and had no recollection of the route to 3 Mile Island. Fortunately, someone knew the route. For example, John Ghost Voorhees and Fred Spotted, with whom Stryker maintained close contact. They were the only 2 members of the original mutant team Stryker hadn't eliminated. Unfortunately, these 2 had no intention of betraying Stryker. No matter how much Logan persuaded them, or even threatened or bribed them, they remained silent, only hinting that Logan should find a mutant named Raimi. Raimi, known as the King of Cards, was a well-known figure among the mutant community, a handsome young man who was very popular with women. His ability was to control objects, converting the voltage within any object he touched into an explosion whose power was proportional to the object's size. For example, playing cards were small and convenient. While Raimi's potential wasn't quite at the alpha level, it was at the top of the beta level. He also possessed agility, and was proficient in French boxing and stick fighting. A former member of the Italian mafia, Raimi had since wandered around the world, hanging out in casinos and mingling with all sorts of people. His well-informed skills earned him the nickname King of Cards. Raimi had also been approached by Stryker, but being a wise man, he naturally preferred not to enter such a murky water. Even after rejecting Stryker's offer, he remained in hiding for a long time, fearing retaliation from him. This was why he always kept a close eye on Stryker's intelligence. After a fight, they became acquainted, and with Vector hunting him, Raimi was easily persuaded by Logan, even deciding to personally escort Logan to 3 Mile Island. None of this could be hidden from the intelligence networks of the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club. With the final battle approaching, Wang Yunxiao, while reluctant to intervene, decided to take Selene with him to observe. Selene, it turned out, was still obsessed with Stryker. Moreover, the 2 men had no fear of being discovered. If Wang Yunxiao hadn't reacted at all to the Hellfire Club's surprise attack, it would have been unusual. That night, Logan and Raimi, aboard their old glider, had just approached 3 Mile Island when they came under heavy fire, forcing an emergency landing. Fortunately, despite several dangerous encounters, they successfully landed. Raimi had no intention of accompanying Logan into the secret base. He lacked Logan's invincibility. Logan didn't mind this. Traveling alone was more convenient, freeing him from the fear of Raimi's safety. Leveraging his limited familiarity with the base, Logan infiltrated without incident and reached the laboratory where he had been treated. The scene before him left him speechless, and a flood of unpleasant memories flooded back into his mind. It turns out that Stryker was organizing another Weapon X project, targeting Logan's former comrade, Wade Wilson, the Deadpool of the Mutant Squad. Furthermore, this time, Weapon X would be even more radically modified, undoubtedly shocking everyone. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Logan, overcome with uncontrollable rage, sprinted towards Stryker. Stryker tried to stall for time, but Carter had already been rescued by Wang Yunxiao, leaving no one to distract Logan as in the original plot. However, Stryker wasn't completely unprepared. Soon, a powerful figure stood before Logan. Who else could it be but Vector? With his enemy right before his eyes, Logan was completely consumed by hatred and, as Stryker had predicted, he shifted his attention to Vector. With Vector's deliberate guidance, the 2 fled the laboratory, one chasing the other. This also bought Stryker enough time for Wade's Weapon X transformation to be successfully completed. Inside an empty warehouse, Logan and Victor engaged in another bloody and brutal battle. However, the dynamics of their clash were completely different this time. Victor was completely dominated by Logan. This filled Victor with rage and resentment, but it was all in vain. As Logan pinned Victor down, his sharp adamantium claws resting on his head, Logan finally relented. After all, they were brothers. Logan simply couldn't bring himself to kill one another. After knocking Victor unconscious, Logan prepared to return to the lab and eliminate Stryker, the instigator, but it was too late. Before he could even leave the warehouse, Wade, already fully transformed and even brainwashed, stopped him. Unbeknownst to the two men in the standoff, two pairs of eyes, tucked away in a hidden corner not far away, were watching them all. How disgusting. Why seal his mouth too? Is this a mutant ability? Selene curled her lips in disdain and asked Wang Yunxiao in confusion. From what I know, this guy is a chatterbox, the kind that can drive people crazy, Wang Yunxiao replied in a strange tone. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Ending, Part 2. As Logan watched in astonishment, Wade slowly thrust out 2 gleaming, razor-sharp swords from his fists, also made of adamantium. Knowing Wade's formidable swordsmanship, Logan showed no fear, or perhaps it was simply not in his bones. He strode towards Wade. The 2 undead warriors, each possessing supernatural healing and regeneration abilities, their entire skeletons transformed into adamantium, engaged in a fierce clash far more bloody and brutal than the previous battle between Logan and Vector. The 2 engaged in a fierce battle for an unknown length of time. Seeing that Wade was powerless, Logan began to think about escaping him. He was more eager to kill Stryker, the instigator. However, escaping Wade proved no easy task. Forced to do so, Logan used his adamantium claws to scale the towering chimney. Wade's 2 adamantium swords, by contrast, lacked this advantage. Before Logan could even breathe a sigh of relief, Wade teleported effortlessly onto the chimney. Well, the transformed Wade possessed not only most of Logan's abilities, but also the teleportation ability of Ghost John Voorhees. Logan was furious, but there was nothing he could do but continue his fierce battle with Wade on the chimney. However, the situation they were currently engaged in was extremely dangerous for Logan. Even with his near invincibility, being shot down from such a high chimney would be fatal. Wade, possessing the ability to teleport, had no such concerns. As the fierce battle continued, Logan, already no match for Wade and inevitably timid due to the surrounding conditions, found himself in a desperate situation, facing the imminent threat of being knocked off the chimney. At the crucial moment, Victor stepped forward and joined forces with Logan to defeat Wade. Truly a blood brother. However, the brothers' complete defeat of Wade proved no easy task. As the battle turned against them, Wade revealed another of his abilities, Cyclops. Only Logan's adamantium skeleton could withstand the laser-like blasts head-on, leaving the usually ferocious Victor relegated to supporting and seeking opportunities for sneak attacks. It was truly frustrating. But regardless, the 2 brothers emerged victorious, with Wade brutally decapitated by Logan, leaving him with his head and body torn apart. Afterward, the brothers parted ways before they could exchange a few words. Victor, having hoped to win Logan's favor, left in despair. As for Logan, he naturally went after Stryker. What a pity. From the chimney, Wang Yunxiao sighed regretfully, watching Wade's eyes, which remained open after his death, or, more accurately, unable to close even after his transformation. What's so sad about that? Such a disgusting creature, it's better for him to die, Selene said with a disgusted curl of her lips. Although she knew Wade hadn't wanted to be transformed into this monstrous form, she still couldn't accept it. At the same time, she harbored a deep hatred for Stryker, the person who had caused all this. Alright, let's go find that guy. Don't let him die so easily at Logan's hands, Selene then urged Wang Yunxiao to leave. Don't worry, he's cunning. He won't die so easily, Wang Yunxiao shrugged, but he genuinely doubted that Logan would succeed in killing Stryker. Despite this, Wang Yunxiao let Selene lead him away, but inwardly he mourned for Stryker. He might be able to escape Logan's pursuit, but it would be difficult for him to escape Selen's grasp. Meanwhile, Logan had returned to the base. He didn't find Stryker, but he did find a group of mutants imprisoned in the cryogenic prison. Most of them were still children. Seeing those innocent faces, Logan's heart softened. He decided to rescue the mutants first and then return to search for Stryker, hoping he hadn't escaped. Unbeknownst to Logan, Stryker already had a plan to deal with him. He hadn't considered escaping and was eager for him to show up. So, after Logan escorted the mutants out of the base and handed them over to Professor X, who arrived at the right moment, he easily found Stryker inside. As expected, Professor X, Charles Xavier, had also noticed the situation and rushed over to take the mutants away. But he didn't linger. Even after noticing Wang Yunxiao was on 3 Mile Island, he showed no interest in meeting him, as if someone was chasing him. Bang, 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 bang. Facing the ferocious Logan charging toward him, Stryker calmly pulled out a special pistol and fired several shots, one of which landed precisely between Logan's eyebrows. The bullets from this special pistol were made of adamantium, capable of truly damaging Logan. Pa. Just as Stryker was feeling smug, crisp applause suddenly erupted behind him. Who? Stryker whirled around warily, aiming his gun directly at the slowly approaching Wang Yunxiao and Selene. The next moment, he paled with horror as he realized his hand was uncontrollably turning the gun's muzzle to rest against his chin. No. Don't, Stryker pleaded tremblingly, trying to move the gun away, but he couldn't. I finally caught you, Colonel Stryker, Selene said with a charming smile. But in Stryker's eyes, it was more terrifying than a demon's grin. Wang Yunxiao smiled indifferently, not wanting to disturb Selene's interest, and walked towards the computer on the table. If he guessed correctly, it should contain all of Stryker's research data on mutants. After a quick look, Wang Yunxiao nodded slightly in satisfaction and unceremoniously put the entire computer into his personal space. Bang! A gunshot rang out. Wang Yunxiao looked in the direction of the sound, only to see Stryker lying on the ground holding one leg, his eyes staring in horror at Selene, who still had a sweet smile on her face. He didn't even dare to scream, and beads of sweat covered his forehead with the intense pain. Bang! Another gunshot rang out, and a bloody hole appeared on Stryker's other leg, and blood gushed out. Don't kill me. Please, don't kill me. I'm a colonel in the U.S. Special Science Corps. Killing me will only cause you trouble. Stryker's trembling plea for mercy echoed in the empty room. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 198, The Rush. Selene's torture and devastation of Stryker wasn't just physical, but also mental, a skill she excelled at. For a moment, Stryker's pitiful wails echoed throughout the lab. It must be said, this guy really has a great voice. This also caused Logan to wake from his coma, and he posed the 3 ultimate questions of life. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? While the adamantium bullets could inflict severe damage, they clearly wouldn't kill him. Perhaps we should go out and talk, Wang Yunxiao invited Logan with a smile. Okay, looking at the still wailing Stryker, then at Selene, who wore a faint, charming smile. Even Logan, in his dazed state, shuddered and nodded in agreement. Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly and led Logan out of the base. Stryker's screams faded into inaudibility after they were some distance away. Who am I? Logan demanded eagerly. I believe no one enjoys the feeling of having forgotten everything about the past and feeling only endless uncertainty about the future. Your name should be Logan. As he spoke, Wang Yunxiao's gaze flickered towards the metal tag hanging from Logan's neck. Logan, is my name Logan? Logan ripped the metal tag off and held it up before his eyes, examining it again and again, unable to recall anything useful. What else? Logan returned his gaze to Wang Yunxiao. Why do you think I know? Wang Yunxiao asked, looking at Logan with a half-smile, not intending to explain his confusion. You know, Logan said confidently. Honestly, he didn't know why he was so sure, it was simply based on his intuition. It must be said that sometimes, the instincts of wild animals are truly accurate. Perhaps, Wang Yunxiao remained silent, completely oblivious to the increasingly anxious and fierce gaze that Logan fixed on him. Of course, if you really want to know about your past, you can ask your friends. Wang Yunxiao raised his brow again, his gaze subtly glancing off to the side into the dense forest nearby. Seeing that Remy still showed no sign of emerging, Wang Yunxiao didn't bother to talk anymore. In a flash, he appeared before Remy. Though startled, Remy reacted quickly, swinging his long staff across Wang Yunxiao's head. Bang! Wang Yunxiao raised his hand to grab the staff, a massive explosion erupting from his palm. Yet, he remained motionless, unharmed. You? Remy was completely stunned by the scene before him. He knew his own abilities well. No one had ever been able to withstand his full strength attack without sustaining any damage. Calm down. I'm not hostile. Of course, if you want to try again, I don't mind letting you calm down passively. Wang Yunxiao smiled faintly, glancing at Remy. No. I think I've calmed down, Remy shouted, even dropping his long stick. Clearly, he was well aware of the gap between them. Then go meet your friend. He probably needs your help right now. Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, his gaze passing through the dense trees to the bewildered Logan not far away. Actually, I don't know him well, Remy muttered softly, and with a startled cry, Wang Yunxiao instantly flashed back to Logan's side. Who are you? Seeing the two suddenly appear, Logan immediately cast a wary eye at Remy. He realized it must have been Remy who had been spying on them. Hey, men, are you kidding me? Remy spread his hands and smiled bitterly at Logan's shouting and warning. He had thought Logan was blaming him for his previous escape and the spying. Do we really know each other? Logan's eyes suddenly lit up upon hearing this, and he asked eagerly. It seemed that, as Wang Yunxiao had said, they were friends. Are you serious? Seeing that Logan's expression didn't seem fake at all, Remy hesitated. I'm serious, Logan said seriously. Okay, men, I'm Remy. We should be friends, right? After all, I was the one who brought you here. Remy finally confirmed that Logan had truly lost his memory and briefly recounted how they met. Anything else? Unfortunately, the two had only known each other so briefly, and Remy clearly didn't know much about Logan, which made Logan very dissatisfied. Maybe we can go back to Las Vegas first? You found me there, maybe there are people you know there. Remy thought for a moment and offered a half-hearted idea. It wasn't that he wanted to help Logan, he simply wanted to get away from Wang Yunxiao as quickly as possible. There's a helicopter over there that should be able to help you, Wang Yunxiao interjected, as if fearing that Logan would bother him again. He had never considered interfering with Logan's amnesia, a development that might have reassured Carter. Alright, after a brief hesitation, Logan agreed to Remy's plan. Before departing, he gave Wang Yunxiao another long look. Perhaps it was his animal instinct, sensing the danger lurking within Wang Yunxiao, that kept him from further trouble. What a lively scene. Who could it be this time? After watching the two depart by helicopter from 3 Mile Island, Wang Yunxiao, preparing to return to base, suddenly paused and gazed into the distant sky. There, 3 black dots rapidly approached him. Soon, 3 attack helicopters slowly landed not far in front of Wang Yunxiao. Teams of heavily armed American soldiers disembarked, observing Wang Yunxiao warily and setting up a cordon. Under Wang Yunxiao's half-smiled gaze, a U.S. lieutenant general in a neatly trimmed uniform, with a large number of medals hanging on his chest, stepped down from the helicopter, escorted by U.S. soldiers, and strode straight towards Wang Yunxiao. Hello, Colonel Wang Yunxiao, I'm Lieutenant General Catalino, Catalino said with a serious expression. Although it seemed that he was proactively greeting Wang Yunxiao, it was actually more like a show of force, otherwise he would not have addressed him as Colonel. Colonel? If I remember correctly, the United States refused to acknowledge my existence more than 20 years ago. So, it would be more appropriate for Your Excellency, Lieutenant General, to call me Mr. Wang. Wang Yunxiao sneered, his eyes calmly meeting Catalino's. Please collect, subscribe, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 199 The Value of Striker. Alright, Mr. Wang. Ultimately, Catalino gave in and changed his address to Wang Yunxiao. Although he had never met Wang Yunxiao in person, he had heard much about his reputation as the god of war. He didn't believe the current U.S. military could threaten Wang Yunxiao alone. Of course, Catalino didn't believe Wang Yunxiao would dare to do anything to him. After all, he was a U.S. lieutenant general. He did this simply to avoid a tense negotiation. However, Catalino didn't realize that if he truly displeased Wang Yunxiao, he would be unceremoniously thrown out of 3 Mile Island. He was just a U.S. lieutenant general, not one with great power. How could Wang Yunxiao take him seriously? With the Umbrella Corporation's capital and the Hellfire Club's connections, there weren't many people in the highest echelons of U.S. military and political power who truly frightened Wang Yunxiao. However, Wang Yunxiao didn't want to antagonize the U.S. military and political establishment, so he patiently met with Catalino. Mr. Wang, my purpose for coming here is to bring back Colonel Stryker. Please release him. Catalino's expression softened slightly, but he remained serious. Oh? What a shame. Your trip will be in vain. I can't give this person to you, Wang Yunxiao said with a calm smile, bluntly refusing. Why? Catalino's face immediately lit up with anger. Don't you know? This man attacked our club without cause. As the club's organizer, I must bring him back and give an explanation to all club members. Wang Yunxiao smiled indifferently. Impossible. Colonel Stryker is a full-time colonel in the U.S. military. Only a military tribunal has the authority to investigate and try him. You don't have that power, Catalino raged, his face flushing crimson, his anger intensifying. So what? Wang Yunxiao remained silent, unconcerned with Catalino's anger. What did you say? Catalino was slightly startled, staring at Wang Yunxiao in disbelief, as if wondering if he'd misheard. So, what? To be frank, Lieutenant General, you're not qualified to demand this man from me. If your military insists on taking this man, let the one who truly has the final say come to see me. Wang Yunxiao, no longer willing to waste time on Catalino, spoke even more bluntly. You? Catalino's entire body trembled with rage, wanting to explode right then and there. However, considering Wang Yunxiao's strength and the potential consequences, he suppressed the urge. If you're alright, please return. Wang Yunxiao issued the order to expel him, then turned and left without a second thought. Retreat. Catalino's expression shifted as he watched Wang Yunxiao retreat. He couldn't muster the resolve to force his way through, so he grudgingly issued the order to retreat. Soon, 3 attack helicopters slowly lifted off and vanished into the distant sky. Is everything resolved? Selene asked with a smile upon seeing Wang Yunxiao return. She was naturally aware of what had just happened. Just a clown? Wang Yunxiao curled her lips in disdain. Still, let's spare this guy's life. We can't completely offend the military. Glancing at Stryker, whose eyes were already vacant and breathing heavily, Wang Yunxiao said with a half-smile. Of course. Letting him die like this would be too easy for him. Might as well make use of him and get some benefits from the military. Selene wasn't angry at all, instead taking the opportunity to target the U.S. military. You can discuss this with Ada. I'm sure those veterans in the military won't mind a little bloodshed. Wang Yunxiao nodded in agreement, naturally having no objection. The two were so confident, not to mention the Umbrella Corporation's capital and connections to the Hellfire Club, but simply the transactions between them made the U.S. military unwilling to completely break with Wang Yunxiao. Take, for example, Super Soldier Serum Type I. It's unclear why the U.S. military values Stryker so highly. Less than 2 hours after Wang Yunxiao and Selene returned to New York, military representatives arrived. Naturally, Wang Yunxiao's old friend, Howard Stark, was also among them. Leaving the U.S. military representatives to aid Wang and Selene, Wang Yunxiao took Howard aside. Hey, how did you get involved? Wang Yunxiao asked irritably, pouring Howard a glass of red wine. You think I want to? It's Peggy, Howard complained. But he stopped mid-sentence, a subtle flicker of embarrassment in his eyes. What evidence do you have that Peggy has? Or do you still have feelings for her? Wang Yunxiao quipped at Howard. Don't talk nonsense. I'm a good man now, Howard interrupted, looking rather guilty. Of course, he certainly didn't harbor any lingering feelings for Peggy. To be honest, Peggy has her eyes on Stryker's research on mutants. After a moment's hesitation, Howard finally revealed the truth. What, you're also interested in mutants? Wang Yunxiao raised a brow, a hint of surprise. Aren't mutants our responsibility? Howard said, spreading his hands helplessly. He was right. Mutants were naturally a supernatural phenomenon, falling squarely within their purview. Just one Magneto has us in such a state of turmoil, we had to take precautions. Then, Howard's expression grew even more cautious. That's true, Wang Yunxiao nodded in agreement. Considering the vast power of the mutant community, he also had to take it seriously. Putting aside other factors, Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but treat the X-Men, led by Professor Xavier, and the Brotherhood, led by Magneto's Eric Lensher, with caution. Each of these two factions was as powerful as the future Avengers. You don't have to bother with that. I have all the information. I'll have someone compile a copy and send it to you later. Thinking of this, Wang Yunxiao decided to sell SHIELD out again. If SHIELD, or even the US military, could be used to curb the growth of the X-Men and the Brotherhood, that would be a very good option. Thanks, brother. Howard and Wang Yunxiao clinked their glasses, feeling even more pleased. My younger brother's baby is 1 month old, so the update is a little late. Sorry. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. Chapter 200, 4 Years in a Hurry. After the business was over, Howard Stark chatted with Wang Yunxiao for a while. Once the military representatives had reached an agreement with Ada Wong and Selene, they left the Umbrella building together. Following behind the military representatives was William Stryker, who was already somewhat disoriented. Whether or not this cunning man was faking his current appearance wasn't something Wang Yunxiao and the others considered, nor did they care. From the smiles on Ada Wong and Selene's pretty faces, and the sullen expression on the military representative's face before he left, Wang Yunxiao knew the two women had extorted considerable benefits from the military. That evening, Wang Yunxiao sent Stryker's research materials on mutants to Peggy Carter. Having successfully stymied Professor X's Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher, significantly limiting the growth of the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants, Wang Yunxiao was in high spirits. Overall, Wang Yunxiao had gained a lot from this incident, but his greatest asset, of course, was the adamantium. It's true that every major event in the original storyline, with proper planning, yields significant rewards. With this, the matter was considered temporarily over, and Wang Yunxiao once again retreated into silence. Aside from occasional public appearances, he focused his attention on Wakanda's affairs. For the time being, leaving Wakanda under Best's management was a no-brainer, with Emma keeping watch. Wang Yunxiao felt reassured. However, Best, trapped within the altar for years and with little contact with the outside world, was at best a competent defender. If Wakanda's development was to continue, her abilities were insufficient. In fact, in Wang Yunxiao's mind, besides Ada Wong and Selene, Emma was the only one who could best govern Wakanda. Unfortunately, she was now completely absorbed in the Mutant Garden of Eden project, and with the completion of the Mutant School, her energy was increasingly stretched. Umbrella and the Hellfire Club couldn't do without Ada Wong and Selene, so Wang Yunxiao had no choice but to take matters into his own hands, forcing him to end his idle life. As time passed, Wang Yunxiao's efforts finally paid off. Everything in Wakanda was back on track, and he could finally relax a bit. But it was already 1983. Over the past 4 years, not only had Wakanda experienced tremendous development, but Charles and the other two had also made breakthroughs in their research. Let's start with Charles. After in-depth research on the heart-shaped herb, the development of the third-generation super soldier serum had reached the experimental stage. As long as the experimental data was positive, it could be officially launched, completing the Umbrella Special Forces and even creating Wang Yunxiao's planned Black Panther Special Forces. It's worth noting that the four diehards, Zenda, Nunnally, Suang, and T'Chaka, finally succumbed to Wang Yunxiao's rule and became his trusted aides in governing Wakanda. After all, as former rulers of Wakanda, the Zendas and their companions possess considerable talent in governing a nation. With their assistance, Wang Yunxiao could confidently hand over Wakanda's affairs to Best, allowing Emma to focus on her Mutant Eden project. Furthermore, over the past 3 years, T'Chaka's son and daughter, T'Challa and Shuri, were born. While T'Challa, the future Avenger superhero Black Panther, was a significant figure, Wang Yunxiao placed great importance on Shuri, the future inventor. Upon her first birthday, Wang Yunxiao took her away from her parents and personally placed her in the care of Ada Wang. Arnim, meanwhile, with centuries of Wakanda research on vibranium, coupled with the adamantium and related information brought back by Wang Yunxiao, has made the most impressive progress. After thoroughly studying both vibranium and adamantium, Arnim successfully formulated the perfect alloy formula a year ago, which Wang Yunxiao personally named adamantium. Adamantium possesses all the properties of both adamantium and vibranium. Not only is it indestructible, it can also absorb all heat, energy, and kinetic energy. Furthermore, Arnim also naturally formulated lesser adamantium. While its absorption capacity is less than half that of adamantium, its strength is comparable to adamantium, making it one of the strongest alloys in the Marvel Universe. More importantly, lesser adamantium offers a significant advantage. It requires only 1/5 the materials used by vibranium and adamantium. Currently, over 1,000 Black Panther armors, crafted entirely from subgrade adamantium, sit quietly in the research center's warehouse, awaiting the success of Charles's experiments with a third-generation super soldier serum. At Wang Yunxiao's request, Arnim even personally designed a set of adamantium armor for the women. Of course, the armors designed for the women couldn't be as unsightly as the Black Panther suits. Each was individually designed to their preferences, taking into account aesthetics, lightness, and durability. Wang Yunxiao also reaped the rewards. The brand new God of War blade rests peacefully in his personal space. Constructed entirely of adamantium, its strength is undoubtedly the strongest in the Marvel Universe, capable of handling any battle. Finally, there's Bolivar. His research on the mutant X gene has hit a bottleneck, and no breakthrough is expected anytime soon. It wasn't that Bolivar hadn't achieved anything in the past 4 years. In fact, after obtaining William Stryker's research data on mutants, he had mastered the method of incorporating the mutant X gene in less than a year. Unfortunately, Emma, Selene, and Clarice all abhorred this method and refused to allow Bolivar to use it on their own people. Consequently, Bolivar shifted his research focus and, at the women's request, began studying how to activate and amplify the mutant X gene. Success would undoubtedly lead to a dramatic increase in the strength of Wang Yunxiao's mutants. This was a completely new research direction for Bolivar. However, he wasn't the least bit dissatisfied. Instead, he immersed himself in the research with even greater enthusiasm. It's fair to say that people like Bolivar are the kind of scientific enthusiasts who love a challenge. Please bookmark, subscribe, recommend, and vote. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.